Aita for telling my brother-in-law to stop showing up unannounced when my husband isn't home. I, 28F, don't know if I'm just being paranoid or what, but something about my brother-in-law, let's call him Tyler, 32M, has been really bothering me lately. So here's what's been happening. My husband, 30M, Chris, and I have been married for about 4 years. We live in a quiet little place in Michigan. It's nothing fancy, but it's home lately though, things haven't felt so safe. Tyler, Chris's older brother, keeps showing up at our house. Uninvited, like, a lot. And not when Chris is home. Nope, it's always when he's at work or running errands or out with friends. Like last Tuesday, I was in the middle of folding laundry, and the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there he was, smiling like nothing was weird. I asked, "What's up?" He said, "Just checking something." That's always what he says. Just checking something. Checking what, exactly? He never has an actual reason. He just walks around, looks at random stuff in the garage, stares at the thermostat like it's gonna tell him a secret, and then sits at the kitchen table like he lives here. I started to feel super uncomfortable, so I told Chris about it. I thought he'd be weirded out too, but no, he just shrugged and went, "Maybe he needs something. You know how he is." Okay, yeah, Tyler's always been a little off, but this feels different. So I tried to set a boundary next time Tyler came over. This was like 3 days ago. I told him, "Hey, I'd really prefer if you didn't stop by when Chris isn't home. It makes me a little uncomfortable." He just stared at me. Like dead silent. Then he kinda smirked and said, "Sure, whatever you want," but in that tone. You know the one. And now I'm the bad guy. Chris is mad at me for making things awkward. His mom called and asked why I'm being cold to Tyler. Like, I don't feel safe. I'm not trying to start drama. I'm trying to protect myself, but now it's this whole thing. Everyone thinks I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Chris won't talk to me about it anymore. He just says, "Tyler's family. You're overreacting." Am I? Like, am I seriously being too sensitive here? I don't know anymore. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I just don't like how it feels when he's around. It's this creepy, quiet tension like he's watching me. So now I've basically banned my brother-in-law from our house unless Chris is home. And everyone's acting like I committed a federal crime. Stories number 2. Aita for not letting my coworker borrow my charger even though her phone was dying. I, 25F, work in an office with mostly cool people, but there's one girl. Let's call her Lisa, who constantly borrows things and never gives them back unless you ask. And even when you ask, it's with that sigh like you're bothering her for wanting your own stuff. Anyway, last week, I brought in my phone charger, the long, good one, not the gas station kind, because I forgot to charge overnight. Around 2 p.m., Lisa strolls over and goes, "Hey, is your charger free? Mine's at home and I need to make a call later." Now, normally I'd say yes, but literally just 2 weeks ago she borrowed my charger and kept it for 3 days. I had to go chargerless at work and then finally walked over and asked for it back. She acted like I was being dramatic. So this time I said, "Actually I kinda needed to keep my phone alive today." She got annoyed and said I was being selfish and that her phone was at 9%. I said, "Mine was at 7% 20 minutes ago, that's why I brought my charger." She gave me this look like I'd just kicked a puppy, rolled her eyes, and walked away. Now a couple of coworkers are saying it wouldn't have hurt me to let her use it, for just a bit, but I'm kind of tired of being the backup power bank for someone who doesn't return things unless she's hunted down like a side quest. Aita for saying no. TLDR, coworker wanted to borrow my charger. I said no because she always keeps stuff too long. She got mad. Was I being petty? Comments. Commenter 1. You're being petty but I love it. She's being entitled and spoiled. One of your coworkers can lend her theirs if they want to. Reply, haha, thank you. Honestly, I felt a tiny bit petty in the moment but also weirdly proud. Like, I've officially retired from being the office community charger. If the others think it's just a bit, then yeah. They can absolutely be the heroes next time. Commenter 2. Surely she has someone else's charger stuffed in her desk somewhere. NTA. Her lack of preparedness is not your problem. Commenter 3. You'll note that none of your coworkers jumped up to loan Lisa their charger. Funny how that is. You're supposed to give her your stuff but they would never share theirs. Don't give anyone anything going forward. Just establish a no loaning policy, because you've learned the hard way that you don't always get things returned. Done. End of discussion. Lisa's an AH and a big girl. She could have tried multiple other options. Her world will not come to a screeching halt because you did not loan her your charger. It's a phone charger, not an EpiPen, while she's experiencing anaphylaxis. NTA. Update. Hey y'all. Just wanted to say thanks for all the comments. I didn't expect this to get much attention, but wow, apparently we've all got a Lisa in our lives. So, here's the mini soap opera that unfolded. The day after the whole charger incident, Lisa came in acting super cold. Like, barely a nod in the break room, cold. I let it go because I honestly didn't feel like dying on the hill of, why are you being weird about my phone cable? Anyway, later that afternoon she made a very loud point of saying to no one in particular, some people just can't share, I guess, while pulling out one of those ancient brick backup chargers that charges your phone from 7% to 8% in an hour. I just sipped my coffee and pretended to be deep in an email to corporate, aka scrolling memes. But here's the best part, my manager actually pulled her aside, not me, and gently reminded her that personal items should be respected and that she should stop treating people's desks like a rental shelf. I didn't snitch, I swear. I think someone else must have overheard her salty commentary and reported it. Also, fun twist, turns out Lisa borrowed another girl's stapler a while back and it, mysteriously, ended up in her drawer. So, looks like I'm not the only one with a Lisa loan crisis. Moral of the story: protect your chargers, your staplers, and your sanity. Anyway, thanks for backing me up. Feels good to know I wasn't being petty, just setting a boundary that should have been obvious. Let me know if Lisa tries to borrow oxygen next. Comments. Commenter 1. Hopefully loaning Lisa will learn her lesson. Commenter 2. Lesson not likely to last long, lol. Stories number 3. Aita for suggesting to my friend next time she can bring her own food. I wondering if I was TA here. So I love cooking and love to host. Bearing in mind all of us including me are Muslim and we all eat halal meat. One of my friends became vegan last year. When we go out for meals we try to accommodate her by going to places that facilitate vegan food. That limits most of our choices as most places that serve halal food don't cater very well to vegan food. So we moved to a new place and I decided to invite friends over for dinner. I called my vegan friend beforehand and asked her what she would like me to make and what brand she wanted me to use. I assured her I would cook everything separately for her so there would be no cross-contamination. Food was served and she liked it. One of my friends brought for dessert homemade cheesecake that her mum made. I had already brought a vegan dessert for my friend so I assumed no problem. Well, she had a meltdown and screamed at the person who brought the cheesecake. I asked her to calm down and not raise her voice in my house. She took offense and left and said I didn't appreciate her. Mind you, for a whole year we catered to her choice of food and places to eat out. Later on we decided we couldn't let her selfish antics affect us. In a group chat we discussed going out in 2 weeks to this new halal buffet opening in town and we checked it did have vegan products. Well, said friend straight away objected, so I told her when we next go out you can bring your own food and we can enjoy eating out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Okay, but since there was already a vegan dessert there for her, why would she feel the need to cry about the cheesecake? Just like you provided a vegan meal for her that's most likely different than what your other guests had, her dessert was also different. She did not cry about the meal, why would she cry about the dessert? What is this bizarre unnecessary behavior from her? I'm mind blown over here, lol. Reply. I think because all this time we would not have non-vegan desserts in homes. In restaurants she had no choice if there were any, but when any have hosted we made sure dessert was vegan even if main meal wasn't wholly vegan. I think she didn't expect that after a year. Commenter 2. NTA. You've gone out of your way to accommodate your friend's vegan lifestyle for a year, even when it limited the group's options. You made sure she had a separate meal and dessert at your dinner, so her meltdown over someone bringing cheesecake seems like an overreaction. Suggesting she bring her own food next time is a reasonable compromise, especially if it helps everyone enjoy the outing without more drama. You're trying to be considerate, but her behavior seems more about control than accommodation. Commenter 3. NTA. When your dietary choices are different from the rest of a group it is your responsibility to make sure there are options you can eat or bring your own food. Your friend is selfish and entitled. Why even invite her if she is just going to be a big baby? Commenter 4. NTA. What a witch. You accommodated her needs, just because someone else brought something is not your problem. Vegans that scream at you make the whole group look bad. Frankly, I'd say we are going here, it's best if you don't come. Update 1. Quick recap. I hosted dinner at my home and my friend who is vegan had a meltdown regarding a non-vegan cheesecake my friend's mother made and she brought for us despite us for over a year accommodating my vegan friend's diet. So after what happened I created a new WhatsApp group with all my friend apart from the vegan one to discuss what happened and what to do going forward. We all agreed that we had enabled her behavior by being too accommodating and she was rude. Someone suggested I have a chat with her one-to-one and see if there were issues going on with her as her outburst is unlike her, she can be self-centered but never been that rude before. I agreed to the suggestion but told the group I will keep the chats as backup that we all are on same page in case she accuses me of bullying her and she would know it is just not me. I texted her and asked her to meet me at my place. The reason for that is so that number 1 she doesn't have a meltdown in public, and number 2 if she crosses the line I was going to ask her to leave my home. My husband was on board with this and he said he would wait outside in the car so she doesn't feel uncomfortable. She wears a headscarf and when we get together we usually are girls only, so those of us who wears headscarf can take it off. She agreed to come. We met and after greeting I asked her up front if there was issues. She was taken back and asked why. I informed her that what happened last time was unlike her and if she is having a hard time. She denied it in beginning but then burst into tears. That day she had an argument with her fiancé in regards to her future MIL. She is the only vegan in the family and wanted the wedding menu to be all vegan. In our culture, Middle Eastern, the groom pays for the wedding and her MIL said while some of the menu can cater to some vegan dishes there will be non-vegan as well for others. And her MIL said that is not up for discussion as they are paying for the wedding. Her fiancé while supports her agrees with his mum as he stated to her she can eat what he wants but he is non-vegan and will not adhere to her diet at home or when eating out. I asked what happened since, she said relationships is shaky and she gave him an ultimatum, either her and her views or his mother. He bluntly told her while he loves her he wants a partner that would accept both him and his family. He said if his mother disrespects her or anyone else in his family he would berate him and defend her but in return she has to also give same amount of respect back to him and his family. I asked her did her MIL ban vegan food from the menu completely. She said no, she said they will be both. I asked her when she visits her fiancé family do they provide vegan food for her. She said yes they do. I told her she was selfish and only thought of herself. I said to her that if they had not accommodated her at all I would tell her to leave the relationship. I told her we had tried to be respectful of her choices for over a year but we won't be doing that any longer. That she is entitled and the world doesn't revolve around her. I showed her the group chat where we all agreed if she continues to be disrespectful that she won't be invited out any longer with us. I told her that she needs to be grateful her fiancé was being patient with her. If my husband had been rude to my mother like that I would have broken of the relationship. She raised her voice at me and slapped me all of a sudden. I told her to get out of my house before I call the police for assault. She said who would believe you, then I told her I had recorded our whole conversation, in case she lied later on. She left and I messaged the friend group, explained what happened and told them I am done with her and if they want to hang around with her I am fine with it, just to tell me as I don't want to see her. They were all shocked and I am now grieving the loss of a friend who I've known since I was 11 years old. Comments. Commenter 1, frankly, you should send that video to your ex-friend's fiancé. She's a bullet he needs to dodge. Commenter 2, you handled the situation maturely by addressing your friend privately and giving her a chance to explain her behavior. Turns out, she's been pushing her veganism onto everyone, including her fiancé's family, who have actually been accommodating her. When you called out her selfishness and entitlement, she responded by slapping you. At this point, it's clear she's unwilling to compromise or take accountability. Grieve the loss of the friendship, but don't second-guess yourself, you did everything right, and cutting her off is the best choice for your peace. Let her sort out her issues without dragging you down. Commenter 3, you may grieve for the friend you thought you had in the past, but this person in front of you now is not a friend to anyone at all anymore and not worth grieving. Would a friend slap you? No. A friend wouldn't think of harming you. And to state no one would believe you if you called police means she's become an extremely vile person who manipulates people on a regular basis. Glad you recorded it all and maybe you should use it to have a record of the assault and paper trail if she tries to cause any more trouble. She has morphed into something else. She has decided all of you, both friend group and fiancé family must bow down and serve her, with no respect for others. Your friend left the building a long time ago. Now she's just somebody that you used to know. Update 2. It's been a while since I last posted about my friend who is vegan. We ended it with her slapping me. What I didn't mention in previous post was I was heavily pregnant. Needless to say my husband was furious and wanted to press charges especially since I had it all recorded. He said what if you or baby were harmed? Also we had a 4-year-old who was asleep in his bedroom when ex-friend came. Anyway I convinced him to call her fiancé to discuss. I honestly was shocked because that wasn't what she was like. Her fiancé came. I asked to listen without interruption and showed him the video. He was shocked and kept apologizing. He said he will deal with it and asked us not to contact the police. 3 weeks later my husband came and updated me. The fiancé had basically spoke with her about what happened. She started hysterically crying and threatening to hurt herself. He called 999 and they sent an ambulance. In A&E they decided to keep her till they see her mental health and stability. The fiancé kept by her side alongside her family. There is no definite diagnosis but it's more likely bipolar disorder. Unfortunately it runs in her mother's side of the family, but being Middle Eastern never been acknowledged, and back in Middle East those who had it were kept at home to keep the reputation intact. Unfortunately the fiancé broke up with her. He said he doesn't have the understanding to cope even if she stabilizes on medication, and his family basically gave him an ultimatum: if he chooses to stay with her not to expect family to support them. While he had a good job, it doesn't cover the wedding costs which his family 100% were paying for. I know many of you told me to ignore her and not a friend she was. However, I am glad she got a diagnosis, as that wasn't like her. In retrospective, she was always had a bit of drama, could go from sad to happy easily. Being her friend did put blinkers on, she was just like that. I still am keeping arm's distance but not opposed to having a relationship in the future. Now my focus is on my own family, and I hope one day she meets someone who accepts her for who she is, including her BPD. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Are we sure she isn't having a reaction to lack of nutrients? Being vegan in a healthy and safe way is extremely hard, and she may have damaged herself to the point her reactions are mimicking BPD. Not really likely, since her mom was suspected of having the same thing, but maybe it's something that needs to be looked at. Reply. To be honest, all the information we have is via her now ex-fiancé, so the information is limited. I hope she gets better and gets along with her life. Commenter 2. What I didn't read about is her lengthy apology and vow to change her behavior. I didn't read how she acknowledged any character flaws, which can't be attributed to bipolar disorder. I didn't read how she asked forgiveness from the group she held hostage. Did she? Reply. I've blocked her in everything. Also, her family are keeping things quiet due to the stigma of mental health in Middle Eastern families, so I doubt she will get in touch soon. Commenter 3. Wow, her fiancé broke up with her because she is sick. He's an AH. Reply. To be honest, I think he is an AH too. Before, he was supporting her in being a vegan, and his family too. But then we don't know what happened between them when he called 999, nor what happened after. And maybe it is better for her, if he cannot support her now that she is ill, then he isn't the right person for her. Stories number 4. I was yelled at today by a male coworker and clapped back. I was yelled at today by a male coworker and clapped back. Still unsure if I did the right thing. I'm part of a team of 6 developers and I'm the only woman in the team. We have several teams and I get along well with everyone. I'm usually thought of as nice to everyone, and joking around, etc. I've heard several co-workers tell me that they enjoy working with me. Today I got into an altercation with one of my male co-workers. He is stubborn and is known to have outbursts at people. Especially if we don't do exactly as he wants us to. He seems to struggle with nuances and gets mad at you if you don't solve something code-related in the way that pleases him. He has been working at this company for over 10 years, whereas I've been here for a year, so there's that. I've never been micromanaged by someone as much as him, and he is not even my manager or boss. In short, the altercation was this: I was handed a document with descriptions of how certain software components in our code base is intended to work. Some of the descriptions are newly revised, so I have to rewrite code to fit the new description. The descriptions were unclear, so I decided to email the engineer who had written the document. He is very well versed into the system design of these components, we can call him M. As I was typing my email, my male co-worker exploded and was yelling, "I know these things, you should ask me. Stop bothering M." I'm usually cold in these situations and don't really care about his outbursts, but this one really caught me due to his usage of the words, bothering. I was typing a 2-sentence email, and he made it sound like I was sending him 100 of emails. I looked back and responded, "I'm sorry, are you my boss or something? I'm emailing him because I want his explanation since he has written this document." And he responded by saying, "You're so rude, that's so rude of you," and I was like, "Yeah, then go and cry about it." When I said the last words, the entire landscape went quiet. Usually no one stands up to this co-worker, and he is having angry outbursts without anyone stepping in, and this is the first time I stood up for myself. Did I do something wrong in this situation? Like, is it normal to have these outbursts at co-workers? I'm second-guessing myself all the time, but I really feel like he is the unreasonable one. Stories number 5. Aita for ignoring my half-sister because she complains that my tattoo only represents my mom and not hers. I, 22M, lost my mom when I was 5. My parents had a complicated relationship, and I believe my dad was with his present wife before my mom died. If not, he moved on very fast because my half-sister, 16F, was born less than a year after my mom died. I was 6. My relationship with my half-sister's mom was never a close one. I resented her and my dad for making things move so fast, and I resented her attempts to parent me. Mostly times where she challenged me on why I denied she was my mom too. Or when she put a limit on how many photos of mom I could have in my room at any one time. She accused me of keeping them to hurt her, which wasn't true, but she felt hurt seeing them and realizing I kept them close. Dad and I drifted apart entirely. He knew how I felt and didn't want to face it, and I was still so mad at him for turning my world upside down after Mom's death had already done it. My half-sister and I had a decent relationship despite all that. We were never super close, but we were okay. When I was 16, my half-sister's mom was diagnosed with a pretty awful neurological disease. A terminal one. She's declined a lot over the years. I've tried to be supportive of my half-sister, but I know she has some resentment toward me because I have not helped care for her mom, and once I moved out I cut ties with my dad and her mom but kept in touch with her. Last year I got a tattoo. I'd always wanted one that honored Mom, so I got an owl bear because I remember my mom being wise and loving. Her name's also included along with a small heart. My half-sister has seen it on social media a little. On my page and the tattoo artist's page. When she first saw the fully healed tattoo, she asked me about it and asked why I just had my mom and not both mine and hers. She told me her mom raised me longer than my mom did and her mom was dying. I explained that my relationship with her mom wasn't a good one and she was never my mom. My half-sister didn't like my answer and she pushed against it repeatedly and brought it up repeatedly. It reached the stage last month where I was tired of the fight and so close to telling her I really don't care about her mom's feelings or what's going on with her. I knew given everything that would be too far, so I started to ignore her. She refused to drop it and ignored my boundaries and attempts to change the subject. When she realized I was ignoring her, she started calling me names and asking how I can be such a loveless ass. Stories number 6. Aita 4, ruining my boyfriend's perfect proposal plan because I was hungry. I, 26F, have been dating my boyfriend, 27M, for a little over 3 years. He's great. Smart, funny, decent cook, if you like everything covered in hot sauce, and just a genuinely sweet guy. We've talked about marriage, so it wasn't a surprise that he was gonna propose at some point. I just didn't know how or when, so here's what happened. Last week, he told me to get dressed nice but comfy, and that we were going for a surprise evening. First of all, that's already suspicious, because the man once told me surprise food and took me to Taco Bell. But okay. I went along with it. We end up driving like 45 minutes out of the city to this really pretty nature trail near a lake. Mind you, it's already 6:30 p.m., I hadn't eaten since lunch, and all I had was a granola bar that I shared with our dog earlier. So I'm getting grumpy. And not cute sassy grumpy. Like, why did I leave the house if there's no food here, kind of grumpy. He wants to go on this long walk to the perfect spot, and I'm like, bro. I love you, but I'm about to chew on this pinecone. I start complaining, not screaming or anything, just, I'm seriously starving, can we go get food first and come back? He's acting weird and insists we go now or the moment will be gone. I don't get it and say I'm not walking any further without food. He gets quiet, we leave, and end up getting burgers. Later that night, he tells me that he was going to propose there, and I ruined the moment. I feel kinda bad because yeah. I did complain a lot. But also, he planned a full-on hike during dinner time and didn't bring snacks. Does he not know me? I told him maybe next time, schedule a proposal when I'm not at war with my stomach. He laughed, but I can tell he's still a little disappointed. Now his friends are saying I was self-centered and killed the romance. My friends say if he wanted a perfect moment, he should have fed me first. So, AITA for ruining my own proposal because I was hangry and needed fries more than a fiancé. TLDR, boyfriend planned a surprise proposal in the woods during dinner time. I got hangry. Proposal didn't happen. Now I'm wondering if I was the AH or if he should have brought snacks. Stories number 7. I, M31, found condom wrapper in my, F34, girlfriend's bed. We don't use condoms. Hello everyone, we have been dating for 7 months, I'm so lost I don't know what to do. As title states, I found a piece of the wrapper this morning poking me as we were finishing up. I felt something grabbed it and knew. I went silent immediately. She asked what was wrong and I just told her that I was thinking about work stuff and spaced out. Her roommate, F34, who has been my friend for the last decade, is out of town, so my girlfriend could have brought someone over. I got up later and went to the bathroom and dug through the trash. There was no sign of a used condom anywhere. She had thrown out the trash, which is odd. It's usually semi-full when I get there. We never use condoms, but recently we went on a trip and she bought a box to use on this trip for easier cleanup. We did not open the box and she took them home. We live separately and I only get to see her on the weekend. The brand was the exact same as the box that she had bought. I counted the condoms in the box in her nightstand and it was a 5-pack, and there were 4 left in the box. For the entire length of the relationship, she has never used toys or dildos in front of me or ever made any mention of them. I didn't confront or freak out on her. I laid back down and we cuddled for another 30 minutes. I don't know what I was thinking, maybe because I don't want it to end. Also, important detail I left out. I told her I loved her for the first time minutes before I made the discovery. She said she loved me back. Any advice is welcome. I feel numb, not fight or flight, just numb. But can you guys please help me clear my head step by step? Apologies for run-on sentences. Comments. Commenter 1. You ask her point blank and watch her reaction. If she doesn't have an explanation instantly, she cheated. Commenter 2. Agreed, just ask her what that's from. And then casually ask her to show you the box of condoms she bought. See how she reacts. There's your answer. It's not looking good so far from the evidence you found though. So hopefully it's a toy. Reply. I think if she denies, I end it on the spot. I've never seen toys in her nightstand ever. Commenter 3. I have never kept my toys in the nightstand. I also never used them in front of my partner before we lived together because I preferred to use them solo. Be smart about it, but don't assume any answer that isn't a confession is automatically a lie. That's a bit ridiculous, don't you think? So, be smart by not sharing everything you know at once. Ask her about the condom wrapper without saying that you checked the box. But if she denied cheating and says it was for a toy, don't dump her because you can't imagine that being true. That would be stupid. Ask her to show you the toy. And ask her why she's used a condom on it. Maybe she has an older toy that she liked but the silicone is degraded, using a condom would make sense. Give her space to explain. Listen closely and watch how she reacts. Use your brain to decide if what she's saying and how she's responding makes sense and seems reasonable, or if she's fumbling to make up a story. Commenter 4. For left in a pack of 5 and you didn't use it. Time to have that tough conversation, man. Sorry to hear that. Commenter 5. She could have opened it to see if it fit over her head. We are human and it is weird. Update. Hello everyone, this was my first time posting on this sub and the amount of overwhelming support that I received from total strangers was incredible. I didn't feel alone throughout the process, and I took the best bits of advice that I could from everyone's comments. I did exactly what the top comments suggested. I went over to her place after work and I'm gonna say I was honestly a nervous wreck during that 45-minute drive. I was ready for heartbreak and pain. I showed up unannounced and called her and asked her to open the door, and when we were face to face, I calmly asked her to explain why there was a condom wrapper in her bed when we don't use condoms ever. I did exactly what you guys mentioned in the comments and just let her speak and watch her body language speech patterns, and without hesitation she delivered a calm and quick response saying, "Oh, of course, I use them on my dildo when you're not here." She proceeded to explain that when she's finished she doesn't really like to have to get out of bed and have to clean up the dildo and put it away properly and get back into bed. This makes sense because when she comes she's usually immobile for about 5 minutes. She apologized profusely and reassured me she wasn't cheating and said she probably wouldn't have reacted the way I did and had a full-blown meltdown. I was still kind of visibly emotionally shaken because of all of the scenarios that I had in my head. She noticed this and asked if there was anything that she could do to rebuild the trust that I had in her, and I told her I wasn't sure that there was anything she could really do or say because she didn't really do anything wrong in my eyes after the truth came out. Yes, she kept that information from me, but at the same time I don't really disclose my masturbation habits to her, so I'm not sure how to feel about. I was just really scarred. But thankful to know that she wasn't cheating. So my question is, how can we trust each other more after this and grow closer? Thanks again in advance for everyone's great advice. Comments. Commenter 1. LOL, the heartwarming NSFW update. This should go in the positive update sub ha. Commenter 2. This sounds like a great outcome. I honestly think this is something lots of women do, myself included. If she's using her sex toys before bed, of course she doesn't want to get up and go all the way to the sink, but she also doesn't want some sort of reaction, infection, etc. She gave you a valid answer, reassured you, and wants to reassure you further by asking what she can do to build that trust up. That's awesome. If you feel like you really do not trust her, for whatever reason, or do not feel reassured by her answer, maybe try couples counseling. It works wonders for communication. Spend some more quality time together and talk about how much you love each other. Maybe use this opportunity to try out mutual masturbation and wash her sex toys for her. Reply, thanks for the advice. I got a big weight off my shoulders but was still shaken for the rest of the night. It's not easy to come down from that cloud of doubt in 1 second. I apologize to her for showing up unannounced and looking like a crazy person. Stories number 8. Aita for saying no to my friend for the art they gave me. So about 10 months ago, my friend gave me 3 little artwork pieces that they thought were really ugly and they hated. I absolutely adore them and I think they're very pretty, so I have them in my living room, and so I redecorated my living room and rearranged everything so I could have these paintings in a very specific spot. One day they were over and one of my friends that they have yet to meet until that day was over as well. My other friend who did not give me the artwork looked up the art pieces through Google Lens because they also liked them and wanted to get some for themselves. That friend found out that the artwork that was given to me was worth $1,000 per piece. And I said, wow, that's an insane price. So the friend who gave me the art pieces told me that I needed to give them back to him. And he started taking them off the wall and I said, absolutely not. You gave those to me. He started yelling at me because I wouldn't give them back. Then he said I better pay him $3,000 for all of them, and I said no because you gifted them to me almost a year ago. So he told me that he was gonna call the police and he left because me and my other friend kicked him out. Am I the asshole for keeping them? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Where did your friend get them from? Sounds like he wasn't aware of the value. Reply. They were gifted to him the same month he gave them to me. OOP when told to give them back. The thing is, I really love these art pieces and they were gifted to me. I changed a bunch of my furniture to match these art pieces. My whole entire living room is basically centered around these art pieces. I gave him my $2,000 couch because I wanted to downgrade the size. I wouldn't even think about asking for it back because I gave it to him. Top comment. Commenter 1. Until your friend is for pricing your paintings though. That felt somewhat inappropriate emo. Update. So funny thing happened, the other friend who priced them also looked up something they also gave me and realized the price of it. So both of these friends are wanting their stuff back. So today, I am planning on just giving them the art pieces and the other items that both have given me over the past few years. It's really disheartening to have to go through this. But dealing with this drama is worse than just redoing my living room and getting rid of the things that they gave me back to them. The friend who looked up the price of what they gave me and said that they were just lending me the items. Even though I have written proof that they were given to me. So both friends are going to be acquaintances from now on. Life's weird. Second update post June 8, 2025, 2 days later, same post. Update 2, so another funny thing happened. Both of them met up to go hang out because they both made me the common enemy. I did give back the other things to the second friend, but I do have the artwork pieces due to me, giving them a couch around the same time that was worth $2,000. The artwork is being appraised currently. One of my siblings, friend's girlfriend, appraises artwork. A weird lineup, but we're figuring that out now. She came and grabbed the pieces about 11 a.m. today. For some reason, I feel like this art is not going to be worth $3,000 in total. Honestly, life isn't worth this stress, so I'm just gonna take it as a loss and move forward. Final update posted June 11, 2025, 5 days later, same post. Update 3, they have been appraised. And this part is actually funny. So the relative of that friend who gave them the art pieces is the one who made them. The relative copied a style from a different artist and recreated the pieces for that friend. The relative signed the back. And when the person who appraised the artwork told me the artist name, I laughed because that's that friend's relative, lol. I let that ex-friend know that their relative created the pieces for them. I told him since they were made by his relative, I would happily give them back. After I said that, this ex-friend said I could just throw them away because he didn't want them anymore. Since it had no value money-wise to them, they did not care. So technically, I have 3 art pieces that are priceless. Anyway, I thank their relative for creating these pieces because without these pieces I would have never known the type of people I was friends with. Stories number 9. Aita for moving into a studio apartment away from my mother-in-law who moved in. Long story short, my boyfriend's mom is poor and had to move into my boyfriend and I's apartment last month because my boyfriend's brother, who lived with her, got them both evicted. He stole her car and wrecked it into their apartment and almost killed someone. He's currently in rehab, and before she moved in, I sat down with my boyfriend and laid out the requirements of her living here. She must cut off contact with his brother for his own good and never invite him over, as I'm afraid of him retaliating at our apartment and getting us evicted too, and she should stop enabling him with a constant safety net to continue his drug use. I know that sounds harsh, but it was the only way to actually force him to get help. This has been an almost decade-long battle of her enabling him, and he's not getting any better. My boyfriend agreed to this and she agreed. Cut to 2 weeks in, I come home from work. My boyfriend and her are laughing about how they took his brother to Golden Corral when I was gone and he was so high he was nodding off in the food. I was so upset that not only did she break the cardinal rule that I set for her, but that my boyfriend went along with it and did it too. I told him I felt betrayed and that he just set a precedent to her that she can do whatever she wants now because any rule set isn't actually going to be enforced, clearly by his example. He told me he did it because he thought it was too harsh after the fact without telling me he had changed his mind, and thereby going against our agreement. I otherwise wouldn't have let her live here rent-free. My boyfriend said putting her on the street was too harsh of a punishment for breaking the rules, but isn't that the point? Now she's telling us we need to do her chores when we pay the rent, because she doesn't want to do them, knowing he won't enforce or kick her out because he ultimately can't face the guilt of doing so. He has attachment issues with her and a heavy guilt complex. Our apartment lease is up in a couple months, and now that we're moving, she asked us, so where are we moving to, fully expecting a free ride and free rent at our next place. I was so dumbfounded because she is only supposed to be here until she got housing, but low-income housing waiting lists can be months to years long. I don't want to live with her anymore because she walks all over us and causes tension between my boyfriend and I. He will never put her on the street because he's controlled by his guilt. When I asked what he plans to do, he said he isn't taking her to our next place, but that would ultimately leave her on the street, and I know deep down even if we initially move without her, she will be back in a week or two because he'll feel guilty. I want to move into a studio apartment now, knowing that I don't believe he's going to let her go, and I've voiced this as a real possibility to him, but I'm being framed as trying to dismantle our relationship. Stories number 10. My younger sisters, 21F, close friend, 22F, has been chasing me, 23M, for months. We finally hooked up tonight and she is acting off after. My sister has her friends over all the time and they are always throwing their friend parties here because we have a big backyard and her friends like our family. One of her friends, Katie, has a crush on. She's made it obvious and told my sister about it. She's had flirted with me in the past, but I stopped myself from letting it become anything. The last time before I saw her, she came to my bedroom in the middle of the night at like 2 in the morning when my sister was asleep, asking to use my bathroom. I told her there was one in the hallway, but ultimately just let her in. She tried sleeping with me that time, but I didn't do it. A couple days ago we had another party for my sister's birthday and a similar thing happened. I talked with my sister's birthday beforehand and she said she didn't care as long as I wasn't playing with her feelings and as long as it didn't cause us problems. So this last time she kept giving me that look like she wanted to be with me, and I finicky approached her and talked to her. We had some drinks together, but we weren't drunk, and she asked me to dance with her. When we were all going to sleep I invited her to come relax in my bedroom and she got excited and we went back to my room. We ended up having sex for a long while and we went at it non-stop. I know the sex was good because I got her off a couple times and she definitely enjoyed herself, and I tried my best to make sure I satisfied her first. I had a lot of fun either way, her and she slept on top of me. The next day she was with my sister when I woke up and she seems to like be shy around me now. She's acting different and not as confident as she used to. How do I fix this? I really don't know what caused her to act like this. Edit. I posted an update on my profile and a couple more things have happened since we met up to talk. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Maybe you were a conquest situation where she just wanted to experience it once, or maybe she is just shy now because she did the deed. Chicks can be complicated. Reply. I hope that's not the case. I ended up liking her and I definitely had a good time with her after giving her a chance. I need to find a way to talk with her once my sister is gone. Commenter 2. She probably feels vulnerable, insecure, and wonders if you like her. You make it right by texting her that you had an amazing time and ask if she'd like to have coffee, a meal, or spend an afternoon together doing something you think she would like. Reply. I hope she doesn't think that I put in a lot of effort to satisfy her, but yeah, I'll try to see if she'll give me the chance to talk. Commenter 3. Communication is always best. Talk to her, ask why she seems off now. Maybe you need to have a talk about where this is going, and if you are looking for a relationship and all that. From my POV, she might be uncertain about the situation. Reply. Would it be weird if I just ask her to give me a chance as actual partners? Commenter 4. I guess I'm curious of why wait until tomorrow. She could be in her head that whole time and seems like you like her. If I were her, I'd personally love a follow-up call or text sooner rather than waiting. Reply. Honestly, I think it's mostly because I am nervous. I like her a lot and am scared of her rejecting me if I propose something more serious. Update. A couple things have happened since then. I ended up texting her and she replied back instantly. I asked her if we could see each other to talk and she agreed. She asked if I only wanted to be FWB with her, or if I was willing to give her a chance. I told her I actually enjoyed spending time with her and that I would like to keep seeing her but more seriously. She told me she was acting shy because she had not been with a guy who got her off like that before and she was embarrassed about how she reacted to it. I told her it was okay and that I enjoyed my time with her. I officially asked her on a date and last night we went out to dinner and went bowling afterwards. It felt so good seeing her happy and she said I shouldn't have waited so long to actually give her a chance. We just have one other thing I need advice on. My sister doesn't know we went out and she still has no clue about us being a couple now. How can I bring this up with my sister? I really don't know how she will react and I really do like her friend, my now girlfriend. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Just turn up together holding hands in front of your sister is the easiest way to tell her. Reply. I don't want her to be super upset and overreact, lol. Commenter 2. it depends on your relationship with your sister, but you could say something along the lines of, you know how your friend has been pursuing me romantically? Well, I asked her out on a date and I really enjoyed myself. But put it in your words, not mine. Reply, she knows her friend was trying to get with me for a while now. She had told me she didn't care if I pursued her back as long as I didn't hurt her feelings, but the way my sister, I know she probably will still be upset. Commenter 3, you let them have that conversation. I think it will come off better hearing it from her friend than her older brother. Reply, that may be better honestly. Commenter 4, I took your advice and asked, blah blah, out on a date, but I didn't want to say anything until afterwards. It went well, so I wanted you to know, and I wanted to say thanks. Done and done. She'll be stoked for you. If you guys decide to tell her about the hookup as well, that's up to you. Reply, I don't know if I will tell her about the hookup until later down the line, haha. This soon she would probably be mad, but once we get more serious I don't think she will care. Stories number 11. My 27F, boyfriend, 28M, is obsessed with my ex, 27M. We've been together for 2 years and before this, I would say our relationship was very close to perfect. At the beginning of the year though, my boyfriend and I were at the grocery store and we bumped into my ex and another friend. This was the first time they had ever met each other. We made polite conversation before going our separate ways. My boyfriend made a sarcastic comment about how nice my ex was when he was out of earshot. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks after this, I noticed he was on my ex's Facebook page. When I asked him what he was doing, he shrugged it off and said he was curious because he saw my ex had commented on Luke's, a mutual friend of ours and my ex's, post. He's since friended him on there and claimed my ex was the one to initiate it. He's followed him on Instagram and Twitter too. He comments on a lot of his posts too, but my ex rarely comments back. He also somehow got Luke to invite him to my ex and his friends' weekly, virtual, hangouts. I mentioned I found it weird that they were hanging out, but he dismissed it and said it wasn't a big deal. He's also started talking about changing his career path to what my ex is doing and makes snide comments about if his dad paid his way for him, he could take me on fancy trips too. He's also become incredibly passive-aggressive towards me and makes comments about how if my ex didn't move abroad for a few years we probably would never have dated. If I say no to anything, including sex, he comments about how he bets I wouldn't say no if my ex was the one asking. He also got really sulky when he realized I still had a gift my ex gave me. Yesterday we had a massive fight over it because I wanted to spend time together, but he ditched me to go hang out with my ex. I got so upset I told him he might as well date my ex instead. I don't really know what to do now. He's giving me the silent treatment and I heard him tell my ex what I said, which is really humiliating. What can I do to make him stop hanging out with my ex? TLDR, my boyfriend is weirdly obsessed with my ex and has gone out of his way to join his friendship circle. He's also become passive-aggressive towards me since spending more time with him. Top comments. Commenter 1. If you want to be so much like my ex, I will just break up with you too. Commenter 2. Red flags all around. It sounds like your guy is deeply insecure and channeling that insecurity into loathing. He's already taking it out on you. Manipulating you, pressuring you in the bedroom, even attempting to turn your seemingly amicable ex on you. He's pushing your boundaries. And his demands are impossible. Nothing you do will fix his insecurity, and so he will continue to lash out and demean you. I know because I have been there. This relationship sounds nothing close to perfect. I sincerely hope you distance yourself from him and get some perspective. Best of luck. Update. After my last post, I tried to take the advice in the comments and suggested couples counseling, and I asked my boyfriend to cut off my ex, but he got angry at me again. He claimed I was the one who needed therapy because I had jealousy issues, and that my ex was one of his good buddies and I couldn't dictate who he was friends with. Then a week later he had another hangout with my ex and his friends where he proceeded to very loudly tell them how I was so insecure, and I was trying to tell him who he could speak to. My ex and Luke had to tell him to stop, which he didn't like at all. I should have just broken up with him at this point, but I was stupid and still clinging to the hope of my boyfriend going back to how he was. After this happened, my boyfriend was constantly making jabs at my ex and Luke, but then he would still contact them and pretend to be friends with them. Then, he became super interested in what my sex life was like with my ex. He was constantly asking me who was better between the two of them, and he would ask me if I had done this or that with my ex. I kept telling him I didn't want to talk about it and to stop asking me. I then find out from my ex and Luke that he had been asking my ex directly the same questions and that he had been bragging about our sex life to his friends. My ex said he was telling me because my boyfriend made a comment about loaning me to my ex if he ever felt like recreating old times. That was the final straw for me, and I broke up with him and moved out. My now ex-boyfriend didn't take the breakup well and he went on a smear campaign. He even contacted my family and my ex's family to tell them we were apparently having an affair and that he had no choice but to break up with me. It's been almost a month since we broke up and he keeps getting new numbers to text and call me. Deep down I think I knew this would be how things ended. I'm sad about the relationship I thought we had ending, but now that I've had space away from my ex-boyfriend, I feel much better and it's like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. TLDR, my boyfriend wasn't willing to work on the relationship and he kept doing things to upset me, so I finally broke up with him. Final comments. Commenter 1. Was this whole ordeal completely out of the ordinary or was he a little nutty before? Honestly sounds like a mental illness. Reply. It was out of the ordinary, I didn't notice any red flags before this. Stories number 12. My 27F. Husbands, 27M, first love, 28F, contacted him wanting to apologize and reconnect. Should I be concerned? I, 27F, have been with my husband, 27M, for almost 8 years, married for 3. Let's call him Liam, fake name. Prior to our relationship, Liam was with Danielle, 28F, also fake name. Liam and Danielle met in high school and were extremely close friends before they decided to start dating. They dated from the end of their senior year of high school to the end of their freshman year of college. They were a lot of firsts for each other, including sex for the first time. According to Liam, Danielle was the first girl he was ever truly in love with. He did anything for her, including driving over 2 hours to and from his college to her college every weekend their freshman year. They went to schools in different states, so they could spend time together. Things started to change for them during the later parts of their freshman year of college after Danielle got heavily involved with a religious group on her campus. According to Liam, she got very manipulative and emotionally abusive. She had these new ideas in her head of who she was wanting him to be and wanting to save him. He tried going to church with her and doing the things she wanted him to do, but it eventually led to him becoming confused, upset, and ultimately resentful, which led to them ending things in a crash and burn type way. Fast forward several months after they break up, Liam meets me. We started casually dating at first since he still had trauma and large amounts of trust issues that remained from his relationship with Danielle. After about 5-ish months, he felt like he was ready for something serious again. 2 years later, we're engaged. Another year goes by, we're married. Almost 3 years later, we're here today. Throughout all of this time, Liam has not heard from Danielle once. Also during this time, Danielle has met someone new, gotten married as well, and currently has a young child. Flash to a week and a half ago. Liam and I just moved to a new house closer to our hometowns and posted about the move on social media. After seeing the post, Danielle decides to message Liam congratulating us on the new place and hoping that all is well. Nothing too crazy, but not something that he was expecting. They begin briefly conversing about house things, moving, renovations, etc. Liam tells me she reached out to him and I find this a bit odd, but nothing to worry about. A couple of days later, Liam sits me down to ask me something and for me to not freak out. I, of course, begin freaking out. Apparently, Danielle had continued to message him after their brief conversation and eventually sent him a long post letting him know that there are some things she wants to get out in the open, wants to deeply apologize for the way she treated him towards the end of the relationship, and wants to do all of this in person with him. He asks me my opinion on this and I'm definitely concerned as to why after all this time this is something she feels the need to do and also why the need for this to be in person. After discussing this with a friend who had a similar thing happen to her and afterwards the ex left them alone, I ultimately agreed, hoping that the same scenario would play out with us. Boy was I wrong. Liam and Danielle decide to meet at a coffee shop in a town about halfway between where we live and where she and her husband live. For Liam, it was about an hour drive. This meeting took place this past Saturday. At first, I asked to come with and just sit in the car while they talked since I anticipated it being a short but awkward conversation where she could express what she needed to and then he could leave and we could go do something afterwards. Liam convinced me I would end up being bored and he would feel bad leaving me alone for that time, so it was better for me to just stay back. He didn't think it would last very long, maybe an hour or so, and he would be home before I knew it. I ended up agreeing and he left early in the morning so he could meet her around 10. After letting me know once he got there and that he would keep me posted on when he would be heading back, I waited. After about an hour, I texted asking how it was going and he said it was fine and that he was just listening to what she had to say. Another hour goes by and I start feeling a bit concerned as I would have thought they would be done by now. Another hour goes by and I'm full on irritated. I text him saying it's been 3 hours and ask when I should expect him back. He lets me know they're catching up and he would let me know. Another hour goes by. 4 hours in total and I'm mad. What was supposed to be a short apology conversation was turning into a full day thing. Finally, he lets me know he's heading home after 2 hours of them talking. I needed answers. When he finally got home, I asked what happened. He lets me know that Danielle did apologize for the way she treated him during their relationship. After that, they began catching each other up on their lives since it had been nearly 8 years since they last talked. It was a good, casual conversation and then she started breaking down crying. According to Liam, Danielle is at her wit's end and her marriage is considering divorcing her husband. She told Liam that her husband hasn't been the man she thought he would be and that they have lost all passion in their marriage. That it got harder after she had their baby and doesn't know what to do since she doesn't really like the idea of starting over and navigating as a single mom. Basically, she was confiding in him about all of the issues in her life and he sat and listened and talked with her. Liam said she really just needed someone to listen that wasn't involved in their circle. He felt bad for her and just wants to make sure she is okay. He then asked me how I would feel if they continued to be casual acquaintances. I told him I could maybe get to a point where I would be comfortable with that, but would need to think about it. He made it seem like that was the end of what they discussed and we continued the rest of our day as normal. At the end of the day, we get in bed and are watching TV when I notice that he's getting quiet and distant. I ask what is wrong and he starts to tear up saying that there was more he needed to tell me about him and Danielle's conversation. I, immediately, get worried. In tears, he tells me that Danielle expressed to him that she still has feelings for him. Even though it's been years and they've both moved on, she still has parts of her heart set for him. That her husband isn't half the man he is. In some ways, I wasn't shocked to hear that especially since she wanted to meet with him after all this time. However, what he said next did shock me. He told me that after talking with her, he realized that he also still has some unresolved feelings for her. All this time, he thought she hated him after they broke up when in reality she was just struggling with her religious trauma in college and took things out on him when she shouldn't. Everything was took out of context. I didn't know what to think. He was so hurt and torn apart after they broke up and it took me months to build his trust and hope back up in the beginning to allow him to see himself capable of love again. Now all these years later he says he still has a part of his heart for her. In many ways, I understand because first love will always hold a spot. But I'm also a bit hurt that my husband, the man I plan to spend the rest of my life with, still feels for his ex. After learning that she still has feelings for him, I told him I wasn't liking the idea of them still talking. That she could eventually start interpreting his kindness to her wrongly and see some sort of potential between them. That really she should be discussing her marital issues with her own husband and not him. He insists that she would never come between us and that Danielle herself even expressed that she respected the idea of marriage wholeheartedly and the last thing she would want to do is harm ours. He wants to be there for her because it seems like she doesn't really have anyone else to talk to about all of this. Last night, he was showing me TikToks on his phone when a text notification from Danielle popped up. I questioned him about it and he shrugged it off as nothing. Today, I asked if she was still texting him and he said she was but he was trying to slowly cut her off. I expressed again how I don't think it's best for him to be talking to her and how she really should be going to a friend or family member to talk about her issues. I noticed he was still texting her throughout the evening tonight too. Should I be concerned about all of this? I don't want to come across as a wife who controls who her husband can or cannot talk to. I do trust my husband but I don't really know Danielle. He insists she is true to her word and would never try anything but how can I know for sure? My best friends think I should tell him to block her. I don't think he will because he feels bad for her. But I don't want her to continuing to reach out to him for validation and that eventually leading to her feelings towards him growing more. What do I do? Please help. TLDR, my husband's ex-girlfriend reached out to him after almost 8 years to apologize for the way she treated him. They spent time together catching up and she told him about how her own marriage is falling apart and doesn't really know what to do. She's been confiding in him for a few days now. Learned that there is also unresolved feelings on her end and my husband's end. Told my husband I didn't like the idea of her coming to him for validation especially if she has feelings. He says she would never try anything. They are continuing to talk. Should I be concerned? Top comments. Commenter 1, tell your husband that his ex's failing marriage is her own problem. Unless you want your own marriage to fail too, you better stop this nonsense. Commenter 2, yes you should be concerned. If your husband values your peace and respect you then they need to cut ties. Tell him you don't trust her and you don't trust your husband's feelings, since she was his first love. Commenter 3, Danielle would never do that, she already did. Why confess her feelings to a married man? Why she even appear again? Commenter 4, he is treating you as a placeholder. As soon as she crooks your little finger he comes running. I suggest you have a brutally honest conversation with him. Stop trying to figure out if you are wrong or right. You feel how you feel. You are not wrong in feeling the way you feel. To be honest, if my partner said this to me I would tell him I'm not a placeholder, and if he has feelings for her it means that he doesn't love and honor me. He allowed some other woman to confess feelings for him and didn't shut it down hard. He is already cheating on you emotionally by not cutting it out and blocking her. Start getting yourself together. He is entertaining her and building a connection with her. Update. I want to thank everyone who saw my original post and left a comment or sent me a message. Although they may have been difficult for me to read through, it was something I ultimately needed to do. Anyways, here is the update. Liam, 27M husband fake name, has been at work all day so I wasn't able to talk to him much until he got home. I sat him down again and let him know that I needed to talk about him about his communication with Danielle, 28F, husband's ex, fake name. I told him that I wasn't happy and that I needed to know if he was still talking to Danielle today. He told me he was, but that he was to finally end things with her. For those of you, if not all of you, that suggested Danielle reached out to him because she wanted him for herself, you were correct. Liam called her today and she straight up asked him how happy he was with me and that if for even a second there were issues and wanted out that they could run away together. She wants to divorce her husband and be with him. I believe this admittance finally broke Liam's rose-colored glasses on the situation and opened him up to seeing what she was really doing. Trying to manipulate her way back to him and home wreck our marriage. He finally told her enough is enough and that he cannot talk to her anymore. That he did feel sorry for everything going on with her and her own marriage but for the sake of his own marriage and his love for me that he needs to stop being in touch with her. He realized that those unresolved feelings that he started to have for her after meeting with her this past Saturday were more like feelings of nostalgia for the times they spent together and the times they were happy. The ways she spoke about him and his character made him feel good and gave him that ego boost, but after hearing her true intentions, he was able to remember the way she was before and why they broke up in the first place. I told him I wanted him to block her. I wanted no contact at all with her and he agreed. So he deleted all of their messages, blocked her number, and blocked all of her social media right in front of me. There will be no communication between them going forward. Again, thank you all so much for the help realizing what was happening and what needed to be done. I really appreciate it. Top comments. Commenter 1, yes, finally a good update. Thankfully he got his head out of his behind and realized what she was doing. Good luck to you in the future. Commenter 2, OP that's great but trust me when I say you have to inspect what you expect. Don't just blindly take his word for it. He could probably tell you were done if he didn't agree so he took steps. All of those could be undone just as fast. Give it a day, maybe 2 and then without fanfare ask him for his phone. Tell him you just want to see for your own mental health that she is still blocked and there has been no communication because you don't believe she will go that easily. Don't let him say no or leave the room. Tell him to unlock it and let you see it. Check every single app he has on his phone that offers messaging, texts, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, every single app. Look at recently deleted folders. Also you still need to contact her husband and alert him. Don't tell your husband you're going to. Just do it. He deserves to know. Her marriage may be a wreck but cheaters say that all the time. You would want him to call you. If she is that miserable he needs to know. Commenter 3, I saw your previous post, when Danielle said she respected your marriage, yes, to the point of wrecking your marriage. I'm glad he blocked but don't celebrate too fast, they might keep communicating on other platforms, keep your eyes open, because I'm afraid this is not over yet. Also, your husband may want to contact hers, as I suspect he's not aware of his wife's shenanigans. Commenter 4, I still recommend him reading the book Not Just Friends by Shirley Glass, it's about emotional infidelity. There are huge signs that this woman was giving that he wasn't picking up on and that is concerning. Being cognizant of a woman purposefully perusing you is important in any marriage that wants to last. Stories number 13. Aita for asking my sister to leave because she brought people into my house. I, 26M, live in a one-bedroom apartment. I work remotely and I prefer to keep to myself. My younger sister, 22F, graduated college a few months ago and moved in with me temporarily while she applies for jobs and gets on her feet since our parents moved south when we both left the house. We've always gotten along pretty well. The only thing I made clear when she moved in was that I'm not okay with people coming over. I don't host, ever. I don't care if it makes me weird, I just don't feel safe around unfamiliar people in my space. I told her that early on and she said she understood. This weekend I got back from a walk and there were 3 people I didn't know sitting on the couch. One of them was drinking from my mug. They were laughing, watching a show, super casual like this was their place. My sister just waved like it was no big deal and said, "Hope you don't mind." I didn't say anything. I turned around and left. I was outside for like 2 hours just walking. When I got back they were gone. I told her I can't do this. I said I'm sorry but I need her to start looking for another place to stay. She got really upset and said she didn't think it would be that big of a deal. That they were only there for an hour and they weren't loud or messy. I told her it's not about that, it's about how it made me feel in my own home. I don't think I should have to feel like a guest in my own space. Now she's staying with a friend for a few days and my parents are pissed. They say I'm being extreme and ungrateful and that I should support her while she's trying to get her life started. They said my sister called me embarrassing. But I honestly don't know what else I could have done. It's not about punishing her. I just don't feel safe when stuff like this happens. So yeah, Aita. Stories number 14. I 28F need to leave my boyfriend's 34M house that I just moved into a couple days ago. Any advice? Email I sent my therapist this morning excluding names. I think I need to go back home. BF got upset with me last night about ridiculous things. Not ridiculous, but his reaction to them was way out of proportion, and then called me a cunt and pathetic and insulted me and my family and pushed me more than once because he wanted me out of his bed. He grabbed me by my shoulder and face and squeezed me hard because he didn't like something I said. I didn't leave then because I wouldn't have been able to take anything with me, and I think he'd destroy my things if I leave them based off of how mad he was. I feel like I have to walk on eggshells and have to be careful with what I say, especially when he's upset with me, because according to him it's not the right answer or reason. He told me that if I keep it up we won't make it 2 more weeks. He even told me I should just pack up my car and leave tomorrow, today. This weekend coming down was so stressful and it was all because of him, yet he says I caused it all. I've given him the benefit of the doubt so many times when he gets upset, but I think I need to leave today. He's left for work a few minutes ago. I don't have enough room to take all my stuff, and if I leave, especially while he's at work, which seems like the only option because I'm afraid of what he'll do. What I have is what I actually want because I got rid of everything else. I'm going to ask my brother to come down to help me, but his car might not make it. I'm going to ask my friend too if she'd be able to come if my brother can't. I asked her to call me when she wakes up. My brother won't be up until around 9 a.m. probably too. His mom is going to be home all day too, so I don't know how to handle her. I'm afraid she's going to tell him and he'll be mad, but most likely wouldn't be able to leave the work, which is over an hour away, but I feel like I'll need to leave fast once I start. I just need you to know this. I have to cancel my exam for this afternoon, and from what I looks like I may be penalized for canceling so late. My head is going in circles and I now feel like I've been making so many wrong choices leading up to his point. I should have never brought my stuff down here when he threatened the private investigator stuff. I feel so torn because when everything is good it is so good, but when it's bad it is bad. Update, my dad is coming to help me right now. He's about 2 hours away right now. His mom saw me loading 2 boxes in my car. She asked me what I was doing and I just said bringing some things I don't need back to my mom's house. She said something but I didn't hear it. She's kind of out of it most of the time, so I'm hoping she's not going to think into too much. I have my boyfriend's location, so I'll know if he is going to come back. I bet he'd call me if he had any thought I was going to leave. Another update, he just texted me saying that I'm perfect and that he loves me. And that he wants to talk to me before my test today. The rest of the message is cut off and I'm not going to open it because I have read receipts on for him and I want him just think I'm asleep still. Update, later today I am home now. I cried the whole 2.5 drive home. My dad came and helped me and I was able to get all my things. His mom made it into a bigger ordeal than it needed to be. I can go into more detail later. I am physically, emotionally and mentally exhausted. Thank you everyone. I already had my mind made up in leaving, but having so much support for strangers on the internet made me feel even more confident. Commenter, my advice to you is leave today. Take anything important and get to your friend or family's place. Don't worry about fitting everything in. If it can be replaced and won't fit in, leave it. Commenter, run by shoulder and squeezed face. Run. He already physically abusive, run now. Commenter, if you are afraid his mother will tell him, and he will leave work and come home, then call the police and inform them that you are fleeing from partner violence and need help to get out safely. Remember, you can always get new furniture or clothes, but you can't be replaced. P.S. When you talk to them, do not minimize what he said or did. Say he has verbally abused, threatened, and physically assaulted you multiple times since you moved in, because those are the legal descriptions of what he did. Stories number 15. Boomer parents and graduation. I just need to vent. My son's high school graduation was earlier this week. I had invited my parents, both late 70s, at the beginning of the year. They kept ceasing on coming or not coming. They eventually agreed to come like 3 weeks before graduation, which okay, cool. They had to drive in from out of state. Day of, schedule was pretty clear to them. Ceremony starts at X, doors open an hour beforehand. Be there 15 minutes before that because that is when parking opens up. Parking is going to fill up quickly because over 250 kids were graduating, and you know some of these kids had about 7 generations of family showing up. I told them to meet me at the parking garage at the 15 minutes before doors open mark. So what do? Leave their hotel, located 25 minutes away, 1 minute before that. Got bitched at for not waiting for them. Even though, 15 minutes after the doors opened, it was turning into standing room only. When we realized they weren't going to be here and parked by the time the doors opened, my husband, other kid, and I went to go wait in the line. Which, thank goodness we did because about 5 minutes later, the line was down the street to the next block over. They wanted us to come back out to get them, which was impossible because the sea of people were all pushing one way. Not about to battle an entire army of people to get back out, no other way out either. We were lucky to get in when we did, to get the seats we did, because by the time my parents texted they arrived, it was turning into standing room being the only thing left. My mom then spent the entire first part of the ceremony people watching, with a super judgy face on. Kept telling my other kid that the lady with all the piercings and tattoos probably doesn't have a job, going nowhere in life, etc. 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 I shushed her and got the look. Which no longer affects me since I just spent the last 18 years improving the look. Also, for some reason, my son's full middle name didn't get read out, they just said his initial instead. I don't know why or how it got missed, but I nearly missed getting pictures of my son getting his diploma on stage because she was bitching about it. Some pictures turned out blurry because she kept smacking my arm. Luckily my husband got some pictures, but like holy fuck. I would have cried if we didn't get some sort of decent picture. She snapped at my other kid because we did the whole whoa when his name was called. Compared to the other people in the arena, I doubt he even heard us cause it was just me and other kid. Husband couldn't because he was trying to line up shots around people walking in front of us and his brain couldn't do 2 things at once lol. One of the kid speakers, class president, maybe, was talking about evolution and how we got to the point we were at today, and my mom complained about that. They should be thanking God. God got them here. Not even a Christian school, mother. She also complained because some of the young ladies were wearing head scarves, they let them in this school, like Jesus H. Christ on a cracker, it's a fucking public school, mom. There's still people too, just like you, though probably less of a bitch bag. Also got comments from her about the kids with green hair, blue hair, purple hair, and one girl with clown clothes on. They are going nowhere in life. Like, they just graduated, their life is just starting. Girl with the clown clothes was wearing a bunch of the different graduation cords and had her name in the program with several scholarships listed. Pointedly told my other kid, and this is why we don't judge people based on their looks. They have tried to talk my son out of going to his choice of college. They think it's going to be too far away from me, once we drop him off, we have to move across the country because military orders, and that it is in a bad part of town. They are trying to paint some picture that my son is going to be stabbed, shot, mugged, and left for dead. City the school is in has some crime, obviously, but the college itself has released their safety reports and haven't had much issues or crime. I used her favorite line when I voice a worry, it's all up to God. I'm not even religious or Christian anymore. Managed to get the look again when I said that. They are here for the rest of the weekend. We have another promotion ceremony for other kid this weekend, 8th grade. So, send help. Think dealing with them have given me gray hairs. Update to boomer parents and graduation. I have gotten a few DMs from people wondering if I made it through my parents' visit. I did make it through, but my relationship with my mother did not. We are currently not on speaking terms. Well, to be more specific, I am not on speaking terms with her, she has been refusing to accept that. The weekend after my post, we had made plans to meet at 10 a.m. They showed up at 8 a.m. Ready to go, with no place to go. They made plans to stay for so long, but made zero plans to fill that time, thinking I would magically come up with something to do. At 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Like, I can't even think straight due to lack of coffee at this hour, I am not a morning person, and have no idea where my bra is, but sure, I'll pull out something to do from my ass. They were just like, let's just do what you normally would do on a weekend, which, number one, it'd be physically impossible for them to do, considering my mother probably needed a walker a decade ago, but refuses to use because it ages her. 2. They have no interest in video games or board games. Already tried getting them to play a board game previously and my mom stuck her nose up at that, and 3, lots to do here, but 95% of the things worth doing is outdoors. My mom cries her head off if it's over 71 degrees outside. It's always, I'm melting. It's too hot. I'm melting. Like she is the wicked witch of the Mid-West. Also, my family and I don't really go out every weekend. We like being home, we like being alone. So there I was, scouring the internet for things to do with elderly people who can't walk in our area, and still getting hit with, go hike here or there or over there, while wondering if parent daycare was thing. Mom was chatting with my husband, when she decided to start talking about her favorite subject, Emma, my stepsister, her stepdaughter. The way she gushes about Emma makes you think Emma shits out gold nuggets and pukes up diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, all while having the cure to cancer in her head. When our parents got married, she kept asking me, why can't you be more like Emma? Like it, Mom, maybe because I'm still a teenager while Emma is pushing 30, at the time. Naturally Emma was going to be more ahead in life. But from the day they married until now, I was constantly compared to Emma, told to be like Emma, and occasionally called Emma. When I had a mental breakdown in my early 20s and ended up in the psych ward, I was told to get over it or turn to God. But when Emma had a similar situation, it was she needs all the help she can get. Emma marries a shit stain of a man who abused her, and my mom is ready to scorch the world. But when I was dating a guy who turned abusive, it was my fault. You get the idea. I have no real issue with Emma though, it took me quite a bit in therapy to get to the point where I am no longer resenting her. These days we are mainly FB friends, liking each other's random photos. So she is gushing to my husband about Emma, I'm only half listening until I hear her say, clear as fucking day, Emma is like the daughter I never had. My husband and her husband went deer in headlights shocked. My son, 18, said, WTF. Took my daughter, 14, a few seconds longer to process what she heard, but even she caught it, she's not a morning person either. I basically just said, well, guess that's that, you can get the fuck out now. Of course, I was hit with the, what did I do, bit. My son repeated what she said, so she started her gaslighting bullshit. You took it the wrong way. That's not what I meant. Etc. 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 I think with the help of those who commented on my last post, I shined up my backbone a little because I just told her to get the fuck out. My husband says I told her, if you don't have a daughter, then why the fuck do I have some crusty old farts in my house, and threatened to throw all her shit out the window. I don't remember saying any of that, but my son backs it up. I don't remember a lot in the few minutes it took to get her tossed out. After she finally left my house, I broke down crying and got sick. I don't do confrontation very well, she keeps trying to call, text, email me. My husband managed to get her blocked on my phone, so at least I don't get bombarded with calls and texts anymore. First day, before I blocked her, I had over 50 missed calls and 40 text messages from her. She also managed to fill up my voicemail, not that I listened to any of it. Husband deleted all of them for me too. She only has my old email account, that I use for spam now, so not really seeing those either, though last I looked, over a week ago, there were around 20 emails just from her. Starting to get a few letters in the snail mail from her too, so oh joy. Guess she told some sob story to Emma too because she reached out to me. Luckily, she listened to my side and just told me, good for you. She also told me she has never been a huge fan of my mom, for reasons like this, but only plays nice and stays civil for her dad's sake. Made me feel a little better knowing that Saint Emma dislikes her too. I was a mess for about a week after everything happened. Still am a mess, but less so. My husband and kids have been working hard to distract me and I have been keeping up with my therapy sessions every week, she even got me in for an emergency session the next Monday. Luckily, my summer is about to get busy. Husband is taking a month off, having a garage sale, preparing to move to a new state, getting my son ready for college, so I will have plenty to do to keep my mind off things. I did tell my kids they were allowed to have a relationship with either grandma or grandpa, but they were both like, nah, they made my mom cry. Then they proceeded to kick my ass in Mario Kart. Stories number 16. Whipta if I reject naming my baby after my fiance's dying sister. I'm 30F, pregnant with our first. My fiance, 31M, and I have been planning to get married for a while now and settled on next year. The reason for this is very sad. And I'm not blaming her at all for this, but his sister has cancer. Every time we planned for something she would get sicker and we put the plans on hold. We decided on next year because then we'll be together 10 years and thought it'll be cute to do it on our anniversary. The sister also seemed to start getting better and we were so happy, but as it turns out she's not getting better and we got the surprise of the lifetime getting the news that we're pregnant. My fiancé was so excited he told his parents. They live with the sister in another country. We found out before we got the news how bad it's going for her, but since we found out his mother and him as well have been dropping hints that we named the baby after his sister. They already gave me some options if it's a boy. Or if it's a girl. Luckily not naming the child her name directly, but they give variations of it. And I don't want to. I haven't liked a single name they've proposed. I don't want to be the bitch now and say no while everyone is waiting for her to pass, but I also want this to stop. We don't even know the damn gender yet, and I don't want my child to be a reminder of an aunt they'll never meet if she passes before my due date. So Wibta if I don't name my baby after her, and with that tell them now while they're grieving. Edit mini update. Last night MIL called to tell us about a sale condition. She again mentioned maybe naming baby after sale before she passes so sale can pass at ease. I told her firmly but gently that I think we should rather for now focus on sale condition and not baby names. There's enough time for that. MIL agreed but gave 2 more names to consider. I said I would, but fiancé is mad at me asking why we can't just indulge his mother in this time of grief. Commenter, NTA, kids shouldn't be born with jobs or burdens. MIL, I appreciate the input, but we are focused on bringing a healthy baby into the world. We'll decide on a name when the time is right for us. You don't need to tell her now or ever that you don't want to use SIL's name or any variation of it. MIL can find out along with everyone else once you finalize the documentation. Now you have to hope that fiancé doesn't buckle under the pressure. Reply, ugh thanks, I love that message. If a message of hers pops up again today, I'm copy and pasting. Same commenter. If you've ever met someone who was named after a dead relative, you may have noticed how it permeates their existence. The kid or the parent will often say upon or soon after meeting them, Dex was my uncle's name, or, we named him after my brother who died young. It's quite sad. Reply, that also why this is so wild for me. My fiancé was named after a dead uncle that he never met, and he changed it when he turned 18 because he hated it and everyone knew that. And now he wants to do this to his own child. I understand the grief. But I wish he'll just relax. Baby isn't here for a while. Stories number 17. I, F29. Need to know if other people consider what my husband, M37, did as cheating. He says it isn't. I think it is. My husband, M37, let's call him Adam, and I, F29, have been together for almost 8 years now. Adam works at a music restaurant club. The staff is primarily female save for the manager and some security guards. He is normally off work around 12 to 1 a.m. and sometimes goes to a bar next door with his coworkers for a drink or two after they all get off. About a year ago, he texted me from the bar one night and told me he was about to leave and realized he had forgotten his car keys at the club and had to wait for his manager to finish his drink so they could go get them. It was an hour and a half later that he told me his manager was finally done. He shares his location with me, so I watched as he walked back to the club, but then didn't go inside and just hung out in the parking lot for about half an hour and then came home. When he got home, and I asked what took so long at the club and why he never even went inside to get his keys, he told me that his manager still didn't want to leave after his drink, so he just got a ride home from one of his coworkers, Rachel, F30S, and they had shared a couple joints in the parking lot before leaving. Legal state. A couple days later, he went into work on his day off and told me he was helping the manager do inventory on a new system. He thought he was only going to be an hour to an hour and a half, ended up being gone for about 3 hours. The following week, I was out at the bar with him and his coworkers, and I was hanging out with Rachel, and I brought up the fact that she had given Adam a ride home the week before. She gave me a funny look and told me that she never gave him a ride home. When I confronted him about it, he told me that it was his other coworker Sarah, F23, that actually gave him a ride home, and he must have just misspoke. I didn't like how that made me feel because that night he was out, he told me everybody that he was out with, and he did not even mention that Sarah was there. I also later discovered that their manager is sober and was never even at the bar with them, so he had essentially replaced Sarah with his manager when letting me know who he was at the bar with. And then lied to me all night long about why he had to stay out so late and never had any intention of getting his keys. I also discovered that Sarah is the one that was doing inventory when he went to go help the manager, and the manager was not present. So that was now the second time that he had lied about being alone with this woman to me. This obviously started a huge fight where I accused him of cheating on me, lying to me and all that. I kept asking him if he wasn't cheating on me, then why the fuck did he lie to me? He told me that due to all of his trauma from his relationship with his ex, who controlled everything that he did and wouldn't let him hang out with any other women unless there were other men present, etc., he developed a habit of adding a dick into the mix to make it sound better because hanging out with a bunch of women at the bar at midnight doesn't sound good. Well, the fight spiraled out of control. We weren't talking for days. I was snooping through all of his social media accounts, phone messages, and everything trying to find some evidence that he cheated. There was nothing. He kept trying to get me to admit that I was snooping. I'm not proud to say I gaslit the shit out of him and would not admit that I was. While in the middle of this fight, he went out of town with his brother for an event for a night. I found a new Facebook account that he had made, and watched as he texted Sarah practically flirting with her the whole night. The whole time I knew he was doing it as a trap to get me to admit that I was snooping around his accounts. The way he spoke I knew he was pretty much just talking to for me, saying things that he knew would hurt me and hopefully make me react. She didn't seem too responsive to the flirting, so that solidified my resolve that nothing ever truly did happen between them physically. It took another week or two, but we did finally sit down and talk through everything. We can't afford a couples counselor or anything like that right now, but we are really trying to work through this and fix the trust that was broken between the two of us. But it's really hard for me, as he still works with Sarah. He has her blocked on everything, so they do not communicate outside of work anymore, but I have no way of knowing what happens while he is at work and it makes my brain go crazy, honestly. It's getting better, though. My biggest issue though, is he still seems to be under the impression that what he did when texting and flirting with Sarah doesn't constitute as cheating. Seeing as it was all a setup to catch me snooping through his phone. I keep trying to tell him that, regardless of his intention, he still lied about being alone with her twice, and spent a night flirting with her. He said she didn't know about his plan to catch me, so as far as she knew, a married man 14 years older than her was flirting with her. That's cheating, but I guess I don't know. I have spoken to Sarah personally, we were actually kind of friends before all of this happened. I truly don't think anything actually happened between them, but I still think what he did can be classified as cheating. And I would just like to know what others think. Would you constitute this situation as cheating if your partner had done it? If so, what can I say the next time this comes up so that I can make him understand from my side, why what he did is considered cheating? TL, my husband lied to me twice about being alone with one of his female coworkers, and then while we were fighting about it, he flirted with her using a secret account on Facebook Messenger to catch me snooping through his social media accounts. It's now almost a year later, we're trying to work it out and rebuild the trust that was lost, but he still doesn't think that what he did is considered cheating. I do. Stories number 18. Feels like my husband dropped the ball while I was in hospital, now he's demanding divorce or couples therapy instead of taking accountability. Aita. Last week I was in the hospital for 7 days, during that time I had severe pain, nausea, vomiting, and I was also simultaneously diagnosed with HSV-1, but because I am immunocompromised the ulcers went into my esophagus and digestive tract as well as stomach. I could not eat or drink during this time. My husband came and visited me 3 out of the 7 days I was there. The maximum amount of time he spent with me was 2 hours, and during that time he was distant, frustrated, just in general not happy to be there. I grew up with a mother that has a chronic illness, so I am of the opinion that when your partner is ill and in the hospital, you stick by their side. A little aside, my husband lost his job back in January, so he currently is unemployed. For the most part, I was willing to let the hospital visit slide, but when I got home, the house was a complete disaster. My treasured plants that I had taken such care of were wilted, and some of them died. One of my plants had lost 90% of its leaves due to the fact that it had not been watered enough. My husband admitted that the house was a mess, but then he spent the rest of the day playing video games. I was still too unwell to take care of anything. Fast forward 2 days later, the weekend comes and I spend my Saturday and Sunday getting the house back in order with little to no help from him. I will admit he did vacuum the stairs. He vacuumed the kitchen, and he did a load of laundry, but if you know, deep cleaning, you know he did the bare minimum. I finally confronted him on Sunday and let him know that I was entirely disappointed in the entire week and felt like he had dropped the ball. His response was to tell me that I'm stupid, that I'm lazy, that I do nothing, that I have no friends, that there is a reason everyone dislikes me and leaves me. He said he would be happier without me. He sent me an entire list of the things that he did during the week-long stay in the hospital, and they included things like drove 30 minutes to hospital, brought her things she needs, walked the dogs, dusted and vacuumed. I know for a fact, he did not dust or vacuum because when I did it, it was filthy. But really, that isn't the point is that he put visiting me as a chore on his list. He has no problem sitting for hours in an emergency room with our dog, but the second I'm sick, it's like he's nowhere to be found. I'm tired of feeling unsupported. He says that I am a reactive abuser, and that I specifically look for fights when I'm bored. The reality is that I just want a husband that contributes enough that I feel like he can actually support me when I'm sick, and my greatest concern is that if we ever had children that I would not get the support I need. I will admit, after being insulted over and over again, I finally called him an asshole and I told him that he was a jobless fuck. I have since apologized 4 times for that, but this time he is not backing down. He refuses to take any accountability for what he said to me. He believes he gets carte blanche because of the fact that I started the fight. He believes everything he says to me. I don't even know what I'm looking for posting this honestly, because I feel like I'm slapping myself in the face with the divorce papers. I am undervalued and underappreciated, and at this point I feel completely crazy and I constantly question whether or not I am valid in my own feelings now. I came to my husband with criticism and he couldn't hack it. He now calls me a liar and a manipulator. Is there any salvaging this? Am I the asshole? What would you do? Commenter. He said he would be happier without me. Then do him a favor and divorce him. Do not have couples therapy when abuse is present in the relationship. It sounds like he's dependent on you, unemployed, non-contributing. It sounds like the relationship foundation has been eroded by conflict and contempt. What is there to save? Editing to add, you are entitled to pursue happiness, safety, and satisfaction in your life. You are entitled to reject anyone and anything that impedes that pursuit. Relationships should be supportive and enjoyable, they should be safe. Relationships that are unpleasant, unstable, and unsafe are relationships to leave behind. The only way we can have a happier, safer world is to find and create happiness and safety in our own lives. Get yours. Commenter. Okay, let me make sure I've got this right. Your husband has been unemployed since January and currently plays video games all day. I'm assuming that you work and are the sole source of income at present. You recently were so sick that you were hospitalized for a week. During that time your husband paid 3 brief visits, let the house go to rack and ruin and played video games around the clock. On the day you came home, he did nothing but play video games. You then spent 2 days cleaning up the house while he told you that you were stupid, lazy, and had no friends. Eventually you called him a jobless f***ck, and you've been apologizing to him ever since. Please correct me if I have any of that wrong. Thank God you have no children. It will make leaving this man more straightforward and much easier. Let him take the dog. There is no future here for you, and I'll tell you why. This man is abusive. He has not had once apologized for letting you down so badly, but he's sitting back forcing you to apologize over and over again for calling him a jobless FCK, which is actually exactly what he is. If he'd spent the time since January actively looking for work and in the meantime doing housework and undertaking home improvements, he'd be jobless but not a FCK and things wouldn't be so dire. Instead, what you've got is an asshole who does nothing but sit around playing video games and hurl abuse at you when you take issue with that. I don't care if he's depressed. It's no excuse to speak to you the way he does. Even if by some miracle he finds another job, is he going to start pulling his weight around the house and treating you nicely? Or is he just going to go to work when he has to and keep playing video games? The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Honestly, my advice would be to get out now while you're young enough to start again and find a better man to have children with, if you want to have children. Not everybody does and that's okay. Stories number 19. My 27M boyfriend proposed to me 36F. My dad said no and he exploded in anger. My 27M boyfriend was planning to propose to me 36F last Friday. We've been dating 2.5 years. He bought the ring a week before, but he didn't ask my parents until a few hours before he was planning to ask me. He called my dad on the phone, and my dad told him no. He asked him for a reason, and my dad said, I don't have to give you a reason. They went back and forth a bit, and after the conversation, my dad called me on the phone to tell me my boyfriend just called him and advised me to say no if he proposes. I was shocked. I'm sad my proposal was ruined, but even sadder at my boyfriend's reaction. My boyfriend was furious and screamed some really hateful things about my dad. I hate him, piece of shit, scumbag, asshole, I wish you were dead, I wish the cancer got him last year. He also said, I'm going to go over there and knock him the fuck out. I know he's had anger issues in the past but this was disturbing. It was so hurtful for him to say such things about my dad. We fought for hours after this happened, and I finally left at midnight because I couldn't take it anymore. Twice he told me to get out, and then when I tried to leave he would try to stop me. Then the next morning he called me at 6 a.m. berating me for leaving him and told me, you're a piece of garbage, you abandoned me. His explosive anger can become out of control, and he says things that are extremely hurtful. My boyfriend's reaction is where I need some feedback. I'm still in shock and traumatized. I'm not sure if his reaction is understandable. Forgivable. How do we move on from here? Now he's apologizing to me, making excuses that this is my dad's fault, that he was really angry, he was having a mental breakdown, and promising it won't happen again. I still love him, though. He cherished me, doted on me, took care of me when I was sick, bought me gifts, was sweet and loving and affectionate. TLDR, my boyfriend asked my dad to marry me, he said no, and my boyfriend exploded in anger in front of me, screaming and yelling about how he hates my dad and wishes him dead. Call. Commenter. Why did your dad say no? Is it because he often acts like this? Commenter. I thought it was weird that your dad would say no, I mean you're 36 and all. But it sounds like your dad has seen your boyfriend act like a huge jerk before, and you've been overlooking some major red flags. The fact that he went on an emotionally abusive rant tells me that while he wasn't this explosive before, he absolutely has said and acted in ways that should have been a deal breaker. Are you so desperate to get married that you are willing to put up with emotional abuse? You do realize the level of screaming he did will become a normal occurrence during marriage, right? Commenter. His explosive anger can become out of control and he says things that are extremely hurtful. Please don't marry him. Stories number 20. Mom demands I sit somewhere else because she wants to sit in my seats at theater. Took my girls, 2, 4, 6, to the movies with my teen son this afternoon. I pick seats dead center a few rows up from the handicap row primarily because I have little kids who will need to go to the bathroom during the movie and getting in and out will be quick and least disrupting for others in the theater since it is a few steps from exit hallway. Get inside and go to sit the girls down so I can get their popcorn and drinks, and in our seats are an old lady, her daughter and, I assume, her daughter's 2 kids, about 5 to 7 years. Me, is this row G? Knowing it was. Grandma, no, it's F. I walk back to the aisle and confirm what I already know. I tell Grandma, these are our seats. She gets up and says something to her daughter and then the daughter comes over to me with an annoyed demeanor. Daughter, someone is sitting in our seats. You can sit somewhere else. Me, no. I picked and paid for these seats. If someone sat in your seats, go tell them to move. Daughter, it's a nearly empty theater. Just sit somewhere else. Me, no. I paid for me and my kids to sit in these seats. If someone took your seats and won't move, go talk to the manager. It's not my problem someone is sitting in your seats. She argues some more about how I am being unreasonable and should just sit somewhere else. I replied that, if needed, I will get an employee in here and have them ask you to move. They get up, the daughter clearly angry, and move into seats the row in front of me in a big huff and puff. Daughter, clutching her pearls, I can't believe you did this in front of the children. You can sit anywhere else you want, completely ignoring the fact that so can she. She actually made another comment that made me think she didn't even have tickets to the movie. She sits in the row right in front of us, and as I am walking out to get our drinks and popcorn, she is loudly going on and on berating me as I'm walking with my 2-year-old in my arms. She's talking loud enough so the people all the way in the back can hear her. When I step out of the theater, I tell an employee sweeping that I asked a lady to move out of the seats I paid for and now she's yelling at me and my kids. To the guy's credit, he went inside and confronted her. I fully expected him to just nod and then not really do anything about it. On my way back in with refreshments, she's outside talking to the manager. Her whole family is out the theater, which makes me think she never had tickets in the first place, probably waited for people leave out the side entrance and then snuck in, or was in another movie and just moved to a different theater, which, I can say I have done at least once in my youth. And as I'm walking by, she says, "Sir, are you going to talk to the manager?" as if I had anything to say. I said back, "I'm taking care of my kids. If he wants to talk to me, he can find me." She was still talking to him after I made a second trip to get drinks since they didn't have drink carriers in the theater. I might have just sat a row up if she had just apologized, pretended she messed up the rows and asked if it was alright if she could just stay there since they were already settled. Instead, she was an entitled jerk about it and tried to make it seem like I was in the wrong to want my seats that I picked and paid for, and then tried to make a scene in the theater over it. Homie, don't play that. Stories number 21. Partner of 2.5 years has issued an ultimatum. How do I proceed? My partner and I have been dating for 2.5 years. She has 3 kids from 2 men. 11, 8, 6. First marriage lasted 2 years equals the 11-year-old. Next failed relationship, 7 years equals 6 and 8 years. Things moved very fast. She was recently out of her 7 years relationship and moved into an apartment she could not afford. Her and I started dating in November and had moved in together by February. Background context. Her and I dated 15 years ago in HS and reconnected 12 years ago, and then most recently 2.5 years ago. We rushed into the relationship and moving in together, never had a chance to get to know each other. I supported her through RN school. She now has a stable career. She can support herself and children. Shortly after we got together, I supported her through her mom's passing. 1 year into the relationship, she supported me through a severely broken leg. We function well, are loving and caring during difficult situations. Her kids are well behaved and have stable, healthy relationships with their fathers. I love the kids and have enjoyed spending time with them, though it is very stressful to watch them 1-2x week while she works overnight shifts. She recently issued an ultimatum. If we are not engaged by 3 years, the relationship is over. I understand and respect her boundary, but it's causing a great deal of anxiety. We never really had time to allow our relationship to grow and blossom. She is a great woman, very hardworking, career-oriented, great mom, takes care of her kids and I. However, we don't have quality time together and it seems really hard for her to make it. She schedules her shifts for the days she doesn't have the kids. I was thrust immediately into the position of instant stepdad, was hoping to get to know her and the kids more before an ultimatum was issued. I do not feel ready to commit to a lifetime of marriage, yet. I feel we need more time and need to make a commitment to spend alone time together. She supports my dreams and passions, I support hers. Stories number 22. Girlfriend, 28F, is rich and I, 24M, am not. How to bring up to her that I can't afford her lifestyle. Hi everyone, I'm seeking some advice on how to deal with a huge wealth gap between me, 24M, and my girlfriend, 28F, of 1 year. For context, she has generational wealth on both sides of her family, tracing back beyond her grandparents. Her parents have multiple homes all across the world, and travel often. She, as a result, also travels often. I'm feeling a bit conflicted, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to bring this up to her. When met on a dating app, and she has said repeatedly that one of the things that drew her to me was my family values. My goal is to buy a house to make a home to give my future kids stability since I never had that growing up. I'm currently in medical school, so I'm making no money and had to take out loans for pay for it. She, on the other hand, is a lawyer who makes about $250K a year. She also has no student loans because her parents paid for her undergrad and law school, and she went to a prep school before that where 1 year of attendance costs more than all of my undergrad degree did. The issue I'm running into is that she travels a ton and is always eating at fancy places. She wants me to also do these things with her. I didn't grow up with the means to travel, and haven't been out of the country before. When I tell her that of course I would love to travel, but that my primary goal is to buy a house, she tells me that you can't wait to travel because there will always be things you need to spend money on, like kids or retirement. To me, it feels irresponsible to do that because it feels like I'm living beyond my means and doing things for my enjoyment and splendor rather than the responsible thing. I've brought this up to her, and she just says she works hard to play hard. She also doesn't own a home but says she wants to. Furthermore, just this year she has been to Park City, Amsterdam, Puerto Rico, Oslo, St. Bart's, Japan, and now France. All of these trips have been with her family, so I feel like her parents are footing the bill for her hotel and food. The issue I'm having is that I'm happy for her that she comes from wealth. However, she has money habits that I think would bother me if we end up getting engaged and eventually having combined finances. How do I bring this up to her? Stories number 23. Am I the asshole for saying, "Good job," after my kid defended herself from a bully by punching him? I need to see if I am crazy here. My kid, F13, has a bully. He's one of those kids who's related to someone in the school district. We've has multiple issues with this kid harassing mine, but my kid is bullied a lot sadly. We're actually switching her into a new school because the public schools have done nothing and this past semester it got physical. The bully pushed her and she stumbled back. Fortunately only scratches, but I was livid. The bully got suspension, but he's been suspended before. I tried talking to the parents and they make excuses, of which the wildest is that they'll probably end up together someday, because of how they argue. I told them under no uncertain terms that their son is not to even look at my daughter and his only words to her need to be an apology. I got the, "Well, he's suspended, so what else do you want?" argument. This summer she was in STEM camp, she begged to be signed up, but so was the bully, and this time, during their outdoor break, the teacher was physically on his phone when the bully, in full view of multiple students, pushed my daughter and she turned and punched him in the stomach. The bully is now up for possible suspension from the camp, not the district, but I lodged another formal complaint, this time threatening a lawsuit. I asked my daughter if she defended herself, and she said she was afraid he was going to hurt her because he threatened to knock her out. I said okay. Good job defending yourself. Glad you're okay. Let's just catch a movie and decompress. I told my siblings on Father's Day and was immediately told by my eldest brother and his wife that I should never have encouraged her to fight anyone. I argued that I didn't. I am glad she defended herself when she was scared and the person I trusted her care to was not even paying attention. They argue that now she will see punching people as okay the next time she gets her feelings hurt, that I am a bad parent for opening that door. Am I? I mean, if she's in trouble and in physical danger, I don't want her to ever think she will get in trouble for defending herself, but now I'm second-guessing everything. She's seemingly okay now, and I took the week off so we can celebrate Juneteenth together and just decompress from it, but I want her to grow up and be safe. Am I TAH for saying good job? Holy shit, that's a lot of comments. Editing some typos and also clarifying some questions and assumptions as I can't answer that many comments tonight. Multiple students confirm her story. So no, I don't think she's lying and started a fight for no reason. She's as level-headed as they come, and I won't say she's never lied to me, but I will say I tend to know when she does. Cameras are being checked because I formally requested today. I am not a dad but a mom, smiley face. Not everyone agreed with my brother but enough of them did that made me question, and he and his wife were very insistent. Commenter, NTA. I have always told my children to never start the fight, but if a kid starts some shit and puts hands on you, you have every right to finish it. Self-defense is self-defense. Commenter, NTA bully got exactly what they deserved. Wished more parents were like you. Commenter, NTA your brother and his wife are muppets. What would they have preferred in this situation? For your daughter or their own kids in that situation? Your daughter hasn't gone out and started a fight. She defended herself. As all people who are able to, should. If nobody else was defending her, i.e. her teacher, she needed to do it for herself. I'm glad she had the confidence to stand up for herself. If you haven't already, consider getting her into some kind of martial arts so she is more comfortable and can judge situations calmly and confidently and is able to respond with proportionate and fair consequences to people assaulting her. Stories number 24. Aita for assuming the gender of a screaming child. I 48F am staying at campground on vacation and a group of children were running around playing. They were not causing any harm, just playing. I kept hearing a very high-pitched screeching squeal indicative of a small little girl. It wasn't a distressed squeal, just a squeal. Later, while sitting at the laundry area, 3 boys I would say of the ages of 14, 10, and 7 came up to buy ice. I recognized one as one of the playing children. A conversation started and I asked if they had a little sister. I told them I thought I heard a little girl with them playing. They said no, that the squealing was coming from the 10-year-old boy. Of course the other 2 boys laughed like crazy. I felt terrible. Just terrible. I apologized profusely. Later the mother of the 3 approached me and said I had called her son a girl. I explained and apologized to her as well. I told her I felt bad for it but it was just an honest mistake. She left in a huff and now has been side-eyeing me every time I am around them. Aita. I apologized. I feel bad. I'm not sure what else I can do. I have 5 more days left of this trip and it's become so uncomfortable. Edit, I didn't start the conversation with the kids. They asked me some campground questions while I was sitting alone. The questions turned into them talking about a local fishing spot and their campsite. More small talk was made and this is when I mentioned I had saw them playing and asked the question I shouldn't have asked. I honestly was just making conversation back and didn't think a thing about it at the time. I didn't want to appear to be a grouchy old campground witch that hates children. Edit. I think I was more apologizing because I caused him to get made fun of by his brothers. That wasn't my intent. That squeal sounded identical to my 4-year-old niece. I think my mind just jumped to that conclusion. Plus, I hadn't had my coffee yet and it was early in the morning. I was half asleep and barely functioning. These boys were wide awake and seemed anxious and excited to talk about their upcoming day. I was trying to be polite and share in their enthusiasm but I just ended up sticking my foot in my mouth. I'm not a weirdo that seeks out children and strikes up random conversations with strange kids. Stories number 25. Aita if I don't tell my gay son about this part of my past. Hi everyone, I'm new to Reddit so I don't know if I'm doing this right. I am a 53-year-old dad to 3 kids including a wonderful son that is 16. For the sake of anonymity I will call him Ethan here. I will also try to keep it as short as possible. Basically my son is 16 and he came out a few days ago. I reacted very badly. I cried and basically locked myself in my room for a day straight. But not because he is gay. I do not care about his homosexuality by itself. I love him so much. And I've always been very supportive of gay people, I think, even in the 90s when it was not as accepted as it is now. I never cared about it. I even had a gay brother who was 2 years younger than me, and my breakdown to my son's coming out happened because of what happened to him. He was gay. My favorite person in the world, my best friend, my confidant. A bit scrawny lol but he had a heart of gold. Genuinely the kindest person on earth. But some people decided him being gay was enough to hurt him. 3 guys attacking my baby brother because he looked at them weird. I was there, I tried to stop it, but I couldn't do anything except call the police, and only 1 guy got caught. And yet the police did nothing. That's what happens when the victim is a gay kid in Nebraska farmland, I guess. Anyway, they got away with it even though my brother got teeth missing, a twisted wrist and 2 broken ribs. He stayed in the hospital for 3 days. The next day when I went to check on him, he had overdosed and I still haven't been able to finish his letter. He was 19, and basically, I never got over it. I still cry myself to sleep some nights when I'm alone, even more than 30 years later. And my son looks so much like him. I swear, sometimes I wonder if he isn't reincarnated or something. And everything that I told you, I haven't been able to tell anyone. Not my wife, not my kids, not my gay son. They know my brother died and that I don't talk to my parents, but not what exactly happened to him and that I disowned my parents because they were relieved they wouldn't have to hide their gay son anymore. And I do not know how to tell them. It's already hard enough to type this with very few details to strangers on the internet. I don't think I will be able to tell the ones I love especially if they ask for details. I'm broken, I know that. But I don't know what to do. I know my son deserves an explanation, but every time I see him I want to cry. He must think I hate him and that breaks me even more. But I just don't know how to say it without breaking down completely. What should I do? Commenter, show him this post. Or write him a letter. Sometimes you can't verbally express hard things. You are NTA, but you need to communicate with him in some form or fashion. Much positivity coming your way from me. I know that has to be hard to think about day in and day out. Commenter, this is the way to tell him your story without actually talking about it. It needs to happen, otherwise there's a strong risk he thinks your reaction is one of not accepting him. You can close by reiterating that you can't bring yourself to speak about the events, so if he has questions just, I dunno, pop you a text. Commenter, you need to tell him not knowing, and assuming other things, are far worse than telling him. Stories number 26. Aita for not making my husband a cake on his birthday, so every year I make my husband a cake for his birthday. He hates parties, so we always do something small with our kids and we each give him a handmade gift. I always have them do cards and pick out something small for him at the store, and I will go all out on his cake. His favorite is my Death by Chocolate cake with my whipped peanut butter buttercream and little crumbled up Reese's between the layers. So this year we had just moved into a new home the day before his birthday. I had told him beforehand, like a week before, that since we both work and I'm gonna be drowning in boxes and work that I might not be able to make his cake. He just said, "It's okay, I know you will make time, you always do." I told him again a couple days before that it isn't like the other times where I stay up late after work, I'm really not gonna have time to bake anything extravagant. Maybe a box cake with some frosting in a can. He just winked and said, "Okay babe." So fast forward to the night before his birthday. We had just moved into the house. I don't know where anything is at, but I managed to get the supplies I needed, but the oven that came with the house wasn't working. After calling and calling for the appliance technician to come out, he said he couldn't come out for a week. So last minute I just bought a Reese's ice cream cake and got a single card for me and the kids to fill out and got a balloon with it. The morning of his birthday he comes down the stairs and he seemed pretty happy. He read the card and gave me and the kids hugs and kisses and thanked us like usual. Then after our son's color guard practice I asked where he wanted to go out to eat since I couldn't make his birthday dinner either like I usually do. He seemed to be in a bad mood. I figured it was cause we were outside during practice and it was hot outside. Then he turned to me and said, "I don't want to go anywhere, my birthday has been crappy enough." I was shocked to say the least. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You really couldn't make me a cake." I reminded him that the oven is broken and there's nothing I can do about it. And this man really said to me, "You could have went to your sister's house and made it, you just didn't want to." I told him of course I didn't want to. I had worked all day and I tried to make a simple cake but the oven didn't work. I'm not gonna go to my sister's house that's 40 minutes away at 11 p.m. I would have to get the kids out of bed and ruin their night. They are both autistic and I'm not gonna give them a harder time than they already are having from such a big change. Then he said, "Never mind, it doesn't matter, you didn't even get me a gift either." Now I'm sitting here feeling like a total cause I did forget his gift from both me and the kids. And I guess I could have tried making the cake at a family member's house beforehand, but I didn't think about it. So Aita. Stories number 27. I, 19F, don't want to keep visiting my disabled sister, 15F, every day, but she's upset about it and I feel so guilty. This is incredibly hard to talk about, even on Reddit. But I'm at my wit's end, nothing I can think of will fix this and I'm desperate for solutions. Basically, my little sister was left partially paralyzed after a horrible accident that was partially my fault. I'm still working through it in therapy and accepting that I was a victim in those circumstances too because of our parents leaving us alone for days at a time, but nothing will change the facts that if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be disabled. And she has to live with the consequences and I don't. After that accident, me, and all our siblings were removed from our home and split up in different foster homes because there wasn't anyone who could take all of us. My older brother and I went to an amazing foster mom, she adopted us when I turned 18, our other siblings went to different foster homes, some were good and some weren't, but now our parents have most of them back. My disabled sister went to a care home when she got out of the hospital. Our birth parents still don't have custody of her because they have to make some changes to their house before it's suitable for her. And they haven't done that yet. My sister's care home is close to where my brother and I live with our adoptive mom, 68. So I used to visit her as much as I could, which actually wasn't that often because during the pandemic there were strict rules about who could visit and when. But my classes were also online and I didn't have a job other than helping out my mom with her business, which didn't have much business during lockdown, so I would be there literally as often as I could and so would my older brother. But now I don't have any online classes, and I have a job that I have to be at 5 a.m. every day, and I also want to have a social life. I'm making friends, I want to join clubs and go to parties and go out with guys and stuff. But my sister is so upset that I don't have time to see her every day anymore. The first time I canceled on her because my friend asked me to a party, she was so sad. That's why I felt so bad about it. She wasn't mad, she was just sad, and asked to know all about the party and see all the pictures and stuff. So I didn't cancel on her again for months and months after that. But now it's like, there's stuff I want to do. I want to take the creative writing class that goes until 9 p.m, I want to audition for the play, I want to actually have a life. This probably sounds horrible, but I'm sick of feeling constant guilt and having to pay for what happened to my sister for the rest of my life. But that's not fair. Because no matter what I do, she has to pay for it for the rest of her life. So why shouldn't I have to pay for it? My therapist says it's okay to want to do other things and spoke to me about how to break the news to my sister that I wouldn't be seeing her every day. So I did. But my sister was so upset and angry. And she has every right to be. She was like, okay, fine, you can go out and have a life. And I never will. I just feel so stuck because she depends on me for literally every bit of happiness she can feel in life. And I feel like I owe her. No matter how much my therapist tries to convince me I deserve to have my own life, I feel like I'm responsible for her. My therapist says it's actually my bio parents who owe my sister, they should be the ones making the long drive to see her every day, they should be getting their house fixed so she can go home, they should be the ones making up for what happened. But the fact is, they aren't and they haven't and my sister is suffering, and if I can mitigate that even a little shouldn't I? I can't confide in my older brother, 20, about how bad I feel about this, because I know he blames himself even more than I blame myself. He was trying to drive our parents' car when they weren't home, he was only 14 but had been driving illegally for a while, but he wasn't used to driving in the ice and hit her. The reason I blame myself is because I'm the one who talked him into trying to drive into town that day. And his mental health is even worse. He's also seeing her as much as he can and I don't want him to feel more pressure to see her even more. He doesn't drive for obvious reasons, he will take a 2-hour walk to see her sometimes if no one can drive him to see her. For his sake I'm trying to act like therapy is totally working and I definitely don't blame myself for what happened at all because I know he'd just spiral if he knew how I actually felt. Also, this is just the biggest of all the things that are driving me crazy right now. I am desperately worried about how my other siblings are doing back with our bio parents. I got in several angry blowout arguments with my birth parents during the time we were in foster care and now they basically think of me as dead to them. Social workers are basically forcing them to let me see my siblings once a month but now the little ones act scared of me and my older brother. I don't even know WTF they are saying about me to make my siblings hate me, but other than this guilt about my disabled sister, it is the worst feeling in the entire world that I guess I'm just going to have to live with for the rest of my life because the social workers aren't doing anything about it. It's not like they can do anything anyway, they're not going to remove my siblings again over something like that and it's not like I want them to. If they could all have good foster parents like my adoptive mom was, that would be great, but some of them were more neglected by their foster parents than they were by my biological parents. And I want what's best for them, I guess, even if it means my parents brainwash them and they end up hating me. But they deserve better than to be raised by my crazy parents who will brainwash and neglect and parentify them. I've talked to my adoptive mom about it a bunch. Her advice is that I need to learn to accept the things I can't change, and so does my sister, but that's honestly not helpful. I don't even know what I'm going on about anymore, I just feel like I'm going to explode and I feel so helpless. I don't know how to help my sister, or my other brother, or my other siblings, and nothing I do is enough. Edit. Thanks for all the comments. I posted here because I wanted to audition for the school play, but I normally would see my sister at this time. I ended up just crying, doing neither, and taking a nap that I really needed. I appreciate that the comments are understanding, some of them actually made me feel a little better. Although the general trend for my life is that I'm sad, and someone says something to help me see things in a new way and I feel better, but then I start to feel sad again anyway. To clarify some things, I'm not actually allowed to take my sister anywhere. My sister is technically only paralyzed from the waist down, but moving her upper body too much and sitting up are painful for her. Stuff like riding in a car is apparently really painful. She is in therapy but she says it doesn't help. She watches TV and uses the internet and listens to audiobooks or sometimes reads books and she does her high school classes online. Edit 2, thanks again everyone for the comments. I'm sorry I stopped replying. I got a bit overwhelmed. But I have read all of them. I took notes on some things I want to try or services etc. people recommended I look into. One major realization I think I got from reading all these is that I think my sister might have depression or something and that might be impacting her even more than me not visiting. I've also realized that's a big part of makes me not want to go spend time with her, which I didn't even realize I didn't. I used to look forward to visiting her but it's become more and more of a chore. That makes me feel awful to say, is that she doesn't really have an interest in anything. We used to talk about books and music and stuff but now she basically just watches TV all day. I'm hoping my therapist will have some ideas for how to bring up my concerns to my sister or if she'll think it's not my place to do that or if I should talk to someone at her care home. Update, I, 19F, don't want to keep visiting my disabled sister, 15F, every day but she's upset about it and I feel so guilty. I have a lot weighing on my mind and a little free time this summer so I thought I'd make an update to a post I made a while ago. Since I got a lot of good advice and comments on it, you can read my original post in my post history but just a TLDR, my sister got partially paralyzed in an accident and it was partially my fault. We were all removed from our parents' custody and put in foster care since it happened when my parents were not around, and since my brother and I live closest to the home where my little sister lived we were the main ones visiting her. Anyway. Basically, a couple days after I made that post I went to my sister and had a big heart-to-heart with her. Basically I was honest that even though she always wants me to be around I got sick of seeing her every single day, not because I want to do other things but that, honestly, every single time I'm there she doesn't want to talk about anything or do anything. She just wants me to be there but then when I go there she either just wants to watch the stupidest TV or if she takes any interest in my life she is constantly making comments about what I should do and making me feel guilty for doing things differently than she would and I know it's a coping mechanism thing for her, but I was just getting sick of hearing it. Which, she got mad at me about. Long story short we had several blow-up fights about it and both said stuff we probably shouldn't have. Some of it was like the worst things anyone has ever said to me, and it was so awful I don't even want to really think about it. After like 2 weeks though we finally worked it out. I had been avoiding her for days and my mom, my adoptive mom, not my biological mom, came to me and was like, she is trying to push you away to test if you're really going to be there for her. Are you? Only you can decide that. So I went back over there and we finally talked for real. Anyway, things got better for a while, and we decided we would do a few different things together like book club, movie club, and a few other things, so that when I did go over there we'd have something to actually talk about. Also my sister promised to talk to her therapist about certain things because some of the stuff she said really scared me. And I want to thank whoever here suggested a VR headset for her. I mentioned it to my brother and he looked into it and got her one for Christmas and she really loved it. But then in February my parents finally got some stuff done on their house to accommodate my sister's wheelchair. So soon after that she was released back into their custody. I think there are still some renovations they are planning to do but now they at least have enough to get back custody of her. I haven't actually been over to that house since then. And now. She hates it because surprise surprise, my parents still haven't changed at all and are still terrible and crazy. She's isolated and not allowed to do anything she was used to doing, like, watch TV, use the internet, read whatever books she wants. They let her continue her online school she was doing before but also made her do an entire other curriculum that's Christian-based. Also the internet in their house is parental controlled so every time her school links to anything she has to get them to approve it. They at first let her keep the VR headset but then I guess some of our younger siblings borrowed it and they freaked out about that and took it away from her. And they're basically not letting me and my brother see her or our other siblings at all. They were ignoring us when we tried to arrange a time to visit, so finally we just went down there and my biological mom literally slammed the door in our faces. She was like, go through the social worker, and shut the door and latched it. But the social worker doesn't do anything. I've emailed her just to be like, hey, what's going on? I thought the plan was we have some visitation with our siblings so why is my mom just ghosting me and she was like, I'll ask about it next time I check in, and she's proceeded to ignore every single attempt I've made to contact her since then. So basically, my sister and one of our other younger sisters have managed to contact us a couple times when they've snuck onto my dad's work computer which doesn't have parental controls, obviously that comes with its own risks though. I haven't heard from them in weeks and I'm in a state of constant anxiety wondering what's happening to them and all my younger siblings. I keep wishing I could go back in time and do things differently and tried not to fall out with my parents, but honestly I don't think there's anything I could have done to make them not hate me, besides not testifying against them in court and saying I wanted to stay with my foster mom and not go back to live with them. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, my foster mom would have understood, but she also had a health scare around then, and since my crippling anxiety makes me always assume the worst about everything, I had this unshakable thought that if I went back to my bio parents, my foster mom would die before I ever saw her again. Also, I think I could have survived living with my bio parents again, but if I'd gone back to them, my older brother would have gone with me, and I think he would have actually killed himself. But I feel like I chose my foster mom and older brother, and abandoned all my other siblings, and it makes me feel like a monster, because they need me more, you know? Even if they don't really, I feel like they do. I don't know. I don't know if this makes sense. It came out really confusing and rambly, I think, because this stuff is just hard to talk about. But I need to get it out, and my therapist is on vacation for 2 weeks. Stories number 28. AIO for telling my MIL she can't throw a separate birthday party for my son just to outdo mine. My son is turning 5 next month, and I've been planning a small backyard birthday party for him. He's obsessed with dinosaurs, so I'm doing a dino theme with a piñata, fossil dig game, and a cute T-Rex cake I'm making myself. It's not fancy, but it's what he loves, and we're keeping it chill since money's tight. My MIL, Karen, has always been over the top. Last week, she called and said she's throwing a better birthday party for my son at her house the day before mine. She's booked a bounce house, a magician, and a catered taco truck. She didn't ask me or my husband, just decided it was happening and invited all her friends' kids, not even my son's classmates. I told her we're already having a party and she can't just plan a separate one without talking to us. She laughed and said, "Oh, honey, kids love big parties, and I'm just giving him the best day ever." Then she posted pics on Instagram of the bounce house with a caption like, "Getting ready for my grandson's epic birthday bash." People are now texting me, confused about which party to attend. I finally told her she's not throwing a separate party because it's my son's day, not hers. She's now crying to my husband that I'm denying her grandma rights. My husband thinks I should let her do it to avoid a fight, but I'm so annoyed. AIO for shutting this down. Stories number 29. AITA for telling my dad I felt excluded after his girlfriend didn't include me in dinner. 26F, have been staying at my dad's place for a bit while I look for a new apartment. He lives with his girlfriend, 36F, and her daughter, 13F. It's been okay lately, however honestly kind of awkward. I try to stay out of the way, keep to myself, I always clean up after myself, etc. I've never been super close with his girlfriend, but I always been polite. The other night, my dad mentioned they were going out to dinner and said I should go with them. He said it might be nice for us all to spend a little time together and get out of the house. I agreed, thinking it'd be chill and maybe a good chance to ease some of the weirdness. He wasn't coming, he had some work stuff, but I figured as the one suggesting it, I was genuinely welcome. We got there and my father's girlfriend told the host, "Table for two," and then turned to me and said something like, "Oh, I thought you were just tagging along. This is a little celebration just for her." I was kind of stunned. I didn't want to make a scene, so I just said, "Oh, okay," and walked off. I ended up getting takeout nearby and Ubering home. When I got back, my dad asked how dinner was and I just said, apparently I wasn't invited after all. Now his girlfriend is saying I overreacted and made her look bad, and my dad's stuck in the middle. Her daughter also gave me a weird look when they got back, like I had ruined the night or something. I don't think I'm entitled to a free meal or anything, but I was told I was invited. It just felt really crappy to be treated like an afterthought. Aita. Update. I forgot to mention that next to the restaurant we went, there is a place that I usually meet with my friends, and my father's GF knows about it because she took me a couple of times. So maybe she thought I am headed that way. Stories number 30. I reported suspected child abuse and the mom says I destroyed her family. I am finishing my degree and working part-time at a daycare. I have a 4-year-old kid that is acting really odd. This is not the typical kid oddness, but truly concerning behavior. He has been having very extreme reactions toward the male staff. He has literally froze, and or wet himself when the male staff comes near him. The female staff has noticed he is okay with us, but something is not right. Last week, I was assisting him in the bathroom, and I noticed some suspicious-looking bruising that resembled finger-shaped bruising on his upper arms. I asked him if he was okay, and he began crying, then was unable to talk anymore. I reported this to my team lead immediately, and we called CPS. Eventually, they investigated once they had processed everything, and it turned out that the kid's stepdad had disciplined him in pretty extreme ways. Currently, the little boy is with his grandmother until everything is all sorted out. The kid's mother came in yesterday completely hysterical. She had no idea what was happening and thought her boyfriend was just a strict parent. She's devastated that her child is not in her care, even temporarily. She asked me to please contact CPS to tell them that I was wrong about the bruising. She told me that I destroyed a family over normal discipline and that I don't understand because I don't have children and that she would never let something like this happen again, since she knows now. It is difficult in seeing her pain and feeling sorry for her a bit, but I am confident that I did the right thing, but I do not know if it is better for the child when an entire family gets destroyed. Stories number 31. Am I the jerk for not letting my sister's kids swim in my pool because they don't know how to be quiet? So I, 31F, recently bought a house with a pool. It's something I've worked toward for years. I saved, planned, and finally made it happen. It's my little sanctuary. My sister, 34F, has 3 kids, ages 4, 6, and 8. Ever since she found out I have a pool, she has been asking to bring them over for a swim. At first, I said yes, thinking it would be occasional. But now she expects to come over every weekend, sometimes even during the week if school's out. The issue is, her kids are really loud, and they don't listen to anyone, not even her. They scream, run around soaking wet inside my house, splash water everywhere, leave trash, and once, one of them peed in the shallow end and laughed about it. I was horrified. After 3 weekends of chaos, I told her I needed a break and would keep pool days to just me and a few friends for now. She got offended and said I was being a snob and hate kids. I clarified that I don't hate kids, but I do hate my peaceful weekend turning into a screaming zoo. She said I was being selfish and that family comes first. Now my mom has gotten involved and says I should open my heart and that it's just water. I feel bad, but it's my pool, my house, and my time. Am I the jerk? Stories number 32. Our marriage counselor hates my husband and recommends I make a get-out plan. I feel so lost. I'm feeling really overwhelmed and unsure of what to do, and I just need a place to let this out and hopefully get some advice or support. Today I had a one-on-one session with our marriage counselor. My husband, 26M, and I, 23F, have been in counseling for over a year now. This is actually our second time in counseling together. The first was before we got married because we both grew up seeing toxic marriages and wanted to start ours on a healthier path, with better tools and support. We've been back in counseling because things have been hard, especially after becoming parents. In today's session, the counselor had a very serious talk with me. He said he suspects my husband may be a covert narcissist. He was clear that he cannot diagnose him, but based on what he has observed, he believes it is something worth considering and strongly urged me to make a get-out plan. He did indeed say something like my husband was the type of guy he'd personally hate and that he would not even treat a hookup like my husband treats me. He also said that if I feel it is right to continue counseling together, he is more than willing to keep supporting us. I just do not know what the right decision is anymore. The truth is that many of the bigger issues in our marriage are things we have been working on very diligently. My husband lost his job while I was pregnant because he was caught stealing from his workplace. Since then, he has stayed home with our daughter while I have worked 2 jobs. The stress and burnout from that imbalance have been really hard on me, but it is something we've been actively addressing. Or at least I believe we have been. My husband also had a porn addiction early in our relationship. That is something we have worked through, and although it has not come up again, the emotional effects still linger sometimes. Honestly, the hardest part of this issue is I still have no self-esteem and I haven't liked my body since. But I do trust he hasn't been watching buying it anymore. His family has always had a strong dislike for me as well, and this is something we have been working on in counseling. His mother has tried to hit me, they have been very awful to me, and they constantly disregard boundaries I try to set. At one point, I was made to eat alone in the dining room while everyone else ate together in the living room because my MIL didn't want me to make a mess, which had never happened before. I was also mocked for giving them Christmas gifts when my husband and I were first dating and told I was only doing it to suck up to them. 2 incidents over the years, but something to give an idea of the relationship there. But more recently, my husband has started setting clearer boundaries with them. He has been making an effort to support me more and to protect our peace as a family. Day-to-day life has honestly improved in a lot of ways. We work well as parents, we do not yell, fights are a minimum now and never around our baby, and our daughter is thriving in our current setup. I am in school, and things feel more stable than they were this time last year. But despite all the progress, the emotional and romantic side of our relationship is still missing. That is the part that hurts the most right now. I am someone who shows and receives love through thoughtful gestures, words, and romance. Over time, my husband has just stopped showing up for me in those ways. I had surgery recently, and the only thing I asked for was a small bouquet of flowers afterward. He did not get them. He just made excuses. I felt completely dismissed and uncared for. This has been the most painful part of our marriage lately. It feels like I am the only one trying to keep the emotional connection alive. And while I know I deserve more than I am receiving, part of me feels like this issue is not big enough to justify ending a marriage over. But it is big to me. It is not just about flowers. It is about feeling loved and seen, so now I feel torn. Our counselor cannot diagnose my husband, but he suspects narcissistic traits. Could he be right? I honestly do not know. I just know that the idea has left me feeling shaken and confused, because it lines up with feelings I have tried to ignore for a long time. Our current situation has been working for the most part, but is sacrificing a lot of my energy and stressing me out. It just feels all on my shoulders and falling apart, even if things are okay, for the most part. So I guess not so okay, but I mean, I just can't push harder for change than I have already. I don't know if I'm making sense or explaining this all well. I do not know if I should keep trying or begin preparing myself for something harder. We have made it through so much, and part of me still has hope. But I am also emotionally tired. I feel like I am carrying the weight of our relationship on my own, and I do not know how much longer I can do that. Divorce just seems so scary. I am still healing from a surgery right now and know I will need a few more surgeries before the year is over because I'm also medically not doing well. I'm just so incredibly stressed and overwhelmed right now. If anyone has been through something similar or has advice, I would really appreciate hearing your thoughts. I am having a very hard time with everything, not just this marriage. Stories number 33. No, the stock take must agree with the system. Look again. Years ago I worked for an office supplies chain store. It was an okay job for a student on the weekend. The store manager would occasionally ask us to do a stock take. It involved going around with a hand scanner and making sure that what we had in the store agreed with what the computer system said we did. Unfortunately, we had a lot of theft in the store and so frequently there were missing items, lots of them. The IT system was also a complete mess, so we would frequently find items that the system said we didn't have. The store manager was of the firm belief that there was no theft and that the stock system was completely infallible. If you went up to him and said, "Hey SM, the system reckons we've got 37 of these 19 CRT monitors. I found 3. I think there's an issue." He's brush it off and say we weren't looking hard enough and that we're not leaving the store until the hand scanner agrees with the stock system. Cue malicious compliance. We would scan the same monitor multiple times until we had 37 of them. If we found something that the stock system said we didn't have, it either got hidden behind the stacks of office paper, on top of one of the offices, or more frequently it would end up inside the paper and card compactor. We made sure that the hand scanners would always agree with the stock system and we got to leave the store on time. A few years later I found out that the store manager had been fired by the company because they did an external audit of the store and found a stock system that said there were thousands of items that weren't there, and that the stock takes must have been falsified. Stories number 34. Aita for kicking my sister-in-law out every time she comes over, even though my husband says I'm the one with the problem. So I've been holding this in for months. I, 30F, live with my husband, 31M, and his older sister, 34F, keeps coming to our house uninvited. I don't mean like, oh, she just drops by. No. I mean she shows up like she owns the place. Sits on the couch, eats our food, sometimes brings laundry. And the worst part, every time I ask her to leave, my husband gets pissed. Like actually angry. He says I'm being rude. He says I'm trying to push her away. He says I've got something against his family. But here's what he doesn't know. She's been stealing from him. From us. I first noticed it when he mentioned some cash going missing. A few hundred. Then his headphones disappeared. His watch gone. And I knew I wasn't imagining it, because the day after he left for work, she came over while I was homesick. She didn't know I was there. I heard drawers opening. I watched from the hallway. She was going through his stuff. My stuff. I confronted her. I asked her what the hell she thought she was doing. She smirked. Said something like, "You really think he's gonna believe you over me?" Then she just walked out. I told my husband. I told him everything. You know what he said? He laughed. Said I was being paranoid. Said his sister would never steal from him. He literally said, "She's family." Like that's supposed to mean something. Now every time she shows up, I tell her to leave. I don't even ask nicely anymore. She's not welcome here. And of course, my husband says I'm creating drama and making things worse. I'm losing my mind. She's walking in and out like this is her place. He defends her no matter what. And I'm the one being treated like the villain. I feel like I'm stuck in some weird loyalty test I never signed up for. And I'm losing. I'm exhausted. I just want to feel safe in my own damn house. Is that too much to ask? So yeah, I keep kicking her out. Every time. But now it's gotten to the point where he's threatening to leave me if I don't fix my attitude. Like, seriously? What am I supposed to do? Just let her rob us? Stories number 35. AIO for wanting to kick my husband out of bed for repeatedly joking about starting a throuple. My husband, 36M, has been spending all day at work chatting up a 25F coworker. It seemed like a lot, like there were multiple days where he's come home and said, I didn't do anything all day, I just hung out with X in her nook. He's also mentioned that, haha, no one can see us back there, there's probably going to be rumors about us cheating lol. So I straight up asked him to please not cheat on me with his coworker, and he came back the next day about how it wouldn't be cheating if he told me and it would be funny if we just started a throuple and gave a list of benefits of a throuple, mostly dealing with things like finances would be easier with another income and how I could just take care of everyone's kids. But the real kicker of a benefit on his joke list is how I could have another baby without almost dying. See, I'm 11 months postpartum and when I delivered my last baby both me and the baby almost died. I had a crash C-section and it was extremely traumatic. I would love another baby but I'm quite possibly just too scared to. So, he really dug deep into very raw emotional damage for his cute little joke. That was real specific there. I mostly didn't engage with it, which I'm now feeling was far too gracious because he decided to go off on it again today. Frankly, I don't want him to touch me at this point. I want to tell him to go have fun trying to start a throuple far away from me, but I'm also wary of turning a small annoying headache into a bigger one. Would I be overreacting if I told him to go sleep on the couch? Stories number 36. My 30F fiancé, 31M, is amazing, except he saves household chores for us to do together, and by together, I mean me doing them while he offers emotional support from the couch. How do I set boundaries without turning this into a fight? We've been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, living together for 2. Love him to pieces, he's smart, kind, funny, and once built me a bookshelf because I casually mentioned needing one, swoon. But, the man treats basic adult responsibilities like they're two-player co-op games. Example, he'll wait to do the dishes until I'm available to do them together, which, in practice, means I wash everything while he tells me stories from Reddit and occasionally hands me a sponge like he's my pit crew. Laundry. He sits on the bed and folds exactly 2 shirts, then gets distracted by his phone, moral support on standby. Vacuuming. I wish. I think he believes the Roomba is doing a good enough job, except the Roomba only runs when I run it. I've tried pointing this out nicely, even jokingly. Me, I think you think you're helping by narrating while I clean. Him, I'm boosting morale. Sir, I am not a medieval army, I am just trying to clean the bathroom. He's not malicious or lazy, I genuinely think he believes we're bonding. But I end up feeling like the house manager while he's just vibing. So here's my question. How do I get him to take full ownership of chores without turning it into a scorekeeping thing or killing the vibe of our home? I don't want to nag, I also don't want to become the unpaid cruise director of our relationship. Stories number 37. Aita for telling my sister that she needs to stop trying to be a martyr. Everyone is mad at me right now, but my sister just can't stop trying to make every single thing about her. My 14F birthday is next week, and I have been imploring my parents to let me go to the movies without them and with a few friends. They are super overprotective and won't budge or try to find a middle ground. So, me and my older brother, 17M, were trying to convince them to let us go during dinner last night. And then my sister, 25F, she had childhood cancer, and spent a lot of years in and out of the hospital, until her teen years, 17, just interrupts and says that I don't have a reason to be this upset because at my age she couldn't even eat without feeling sick some days, and my parents always use this as argument too, to say that I and my brother don't have enough reason to be upset. And she has always been like this, YK. Every time I speak in front of her about something that is making me sad or mad, she will just say that I'm really ungrateful for complaining when she couldn't even do most things at my age. I already told her that hearing this doesn't help me, because I'm really sorry that she had to go through that, really. But it's not because she couldn't live her life, that I can't live mine too, so we even the score. My parents always say that she is dealing with everything in the best way she can when we complain and that we need to have more compassion. But well, I'm so tired of this being the final argument for everything in our house, so I told everyone this last night. I can't even get sad about bad grades, or a fight with my friends, without being called ungrateful and reminded that my sister had bigger worries at my age. When I said this, she told me I needed to grow up and stop resenting her for having suffered for real in life and not having time to deal with my BS. So I told her it's also time for her to stop trying to be a martyr and she isn't sick anymore. She can't keep trying to be always the center of everything with things that are in the past. My parents sent me to my room, no movies for my birthday, that's for sure, and told me that I was out of line, and mean, and disrespected my sister's trauma. My friends also think I was an asshole for saying this when she has actually suffered a lot, but my brother agrees with me, but he just thinks I should lay low until I'm 18. Edit, thanks for every comment. After reading about it, I decided to show my brother this post and we talked a lot. We had never really talked in depth about all of this. We cried, but now I feel less alone, and after reading everything, less wrong about feeling all of this. He will move out next year, probably, but he will look for a place close by and maybe try to convince our parents to let me sleep there sometimes. In the long run, the plan is to save money and move in with him after 18. That's not a big change, but I'm grateful for the courage you guys gave me to talk about it. Stories number 38. Aita for wearing leggings on a hike. So I, 21F, went on a group hike last weekend and now I'm low-key wondering if I was out of line. It was just a chill day trip, nothing intense. A few friends and I had been planning it for a while, and one of the girls ended up bringing her boyfriend, which I didn't know was happening until that morning. I didn't really care, the more the merrier, right? I wore my usual workout stuff, black leggings and a cropped athletic tank. Not even super cropped, just like an inch or two of stomach. It's literally what I wear to the gym or when I go running. It was hot and I wanted to be comfortable. Anyway, the whole hike her boyfriend kept kind of hovering around me. Like, he kept making random comments about how fit I looked or how he needed to start hiking more if it gets results like that. At one point he offered to help me climb this one rocky part and I was like, bro, I'm fine, it's not Everest. I wasn't being flirty at all and honestly I was trying to keep some distance. Next day I get this text from the girl saying she felt like what I wore was a bit much and that it made her uncomfortable to have me dressed like that around her boyfriend. She said I should have been more mindful and that I know how I come off. I told her straight up I wasn't trying to get anyone's attention. It's just workout clothes. I didn't do anything inappropriate, and her boyfriend making weird comments is not on me. She basically said I was being defensive and that I owe her an apology. Now a couple people we both know are saying maybe I should have worn something more chill, just to avoid the drama. But others are like, it's a hike, what did she expect? So yeah, I feel kinda weird now and I don't know if I should have handled it differently. Stories number 39. When exposing a cheater, most of the time you don't get a front row seat to the shit show behind the scenes. Lucky me, I got a front row seat. My ex was in the army and preparing for deployment in a few months. We had already been broken up for a while, but as his deployment neared, we started talking again. He said he was doing more training, and during that time, we were calling, emailing, and chatting online. It got pretty flirtatious, basically like we were dating again. This went on for months. When his deployment day finally came, I stopped by the house he shared with his mom. I was on semi-good terms with her, and left a small gift and note on the porch for her. She wasn't home. I did notice a new car in the driveway, but since they had renters, I didn't think much of it. A couple days later, I got a letter from his mom. She was furious. She accused me of trying to cause problems for her son and his new wife. That's how I found out, through a nasty letter where she also called me a whore for sleeping with her son before marriage. The irony? She had a shotgun wedding herself, she was already pregnant with him when she got married. I had no idea he was even seeing someone, let alone engaged or married. So I decided if they didn't know what he'd been doing, they should. I printed out all of our messages, emails, texts, and phone records. I remembered the car that was in his driveway and thought I'd drive by his house. This unfamiliar car was still in the driveway. This time I noticed it had, just married, congrats underscore 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 and underscore 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 written on the back window. Not only had they just gotten married, but turns out his new wife was living at his mom's place. Perfect, now his mom would have to live in the chaos she helped create. I didn't have her full name so I decided I'd mail them letters to his mom's house, exposing him as a cheater. The first letter was to his new wife. I laid it all out, everything he had been doing behind her back, and included all the receipts. The second letter was to his lovely mother. I told her that during all the time I was talking to her son, not once did he mention a wife. I also reminded her of her own shotgun wedding, since she seemed to have selective memory. I ended the letter by letting her know that his wife now had a full account of what her son had been up to. I sent it with a required signature, just to be sure that they'd open it right away. The last message I sent was to my ex, a single line in an email, "You're dead to me." I wanted him to sweat what I knew and what I was going to do. Now, this was back before email security got stricter, and I still had access to his account because he had used my laptop before. Over the next day or so, I logged in to check his emails. Sure enough, the wife got the letter. She tore into him. I had given her our phone records and apparently, while on their honeymoon, he had left to get ice, and called me. Then I saw an email from his mom. She was ripping him a new one too, pissed that she now had to deal with his mess under her own roof. She was complaining that his wife was crying and beside herself that he had cheated. Since he had already deployed, there was nothing he could do but sit with it. I watched as he tried to scramble and explain himself in email after email. It went on for months with him trying to make it better. It was glorious. Chef's kiss. I don't know if they got divorced, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Stories number 40. AIO for telling my husband I don't want our daughter exposed to his conservative parents. I, 32F, am married to my husband, 34M, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. His parents are very politically conservative, and lately they've been sending books and videos for our daughter that make me deeply uncomfortable, stuff like, boys shouldn't cry, and, America is a Christian nation. I've tried to gently bring it up with my husband, but he says I'm projecting, and that they're just being old-fashioned. Last week, his mom FaceTimed us while holding up a children's book titled Why Daddy Works, and Mommy Stays Home. I lost it and told my husband that I no longer want them involved in our daughter's early development unless they check this behavior. He got mad and said I'm demonizing his family and turning this into a political war. I love him and want peace, but I'm not okay raising my daughter to think gender roles are destiny. Am I overreacting? Stories number 41. AITA for telling my girlfriend I didn't want her to adopt her ex's 3-legged dog and that I might not move in with her because of it. My, early 30s M, girlfriend, early 30s F, just adopted her ex-boyfriend's 3-legged dog. They broke up over 5 years ago, never lived together, and she only knew the dog as a puppy. The dog wasn't going to the pound. Her ex and his current girlfriend said they could figure out how to keep it if no one else wanted it. We are supposed to move in together in 3 weeks. She already has a dog, a cat, and a fish tank. I have 2 kids and a cat. Our cats don't get along. On top of that, she actually suggested rehoming my cat to make this work before she adopted this dog, which felt pretty unfair at the time. When she first brought it up, I said I really didn't think it was a good idea. I told her no, and I was firm about it. I eventually gave in and told her that if she really felt like she had to, I wouldn't stop her, but I still felt strongly against it. She also asked her sister and best friend. Her best friend said it was a bad idea, and her sister said to at least wait until we moved in together. Despite this, she went and adopted the dog anyway. I now have told her that I might not move in because I don't think she respects how this affects me, my kids, or the pets we already have. She says I'm being cold and heartless, and that it's just a dog who needs a home. I feel like I was overruled and ignored, and this is a huge decision right before combining our lives and families. AITA for telling her I don't want to move in with her because she adopted the dog anyway. I feel like I might be the asshole because maybe I should just be more understanding and flexible, but I genuinely feel like this was the wrong time and the wrong way to handle this. Stories number 42. AITA for telling my ex-husband that he needs to sort out his priorities. I, 34F, and my ex-husband, Jerry, 35M, divorced around 4 years ago, and we have a 14-year-old daughter together. He got remarried to his wife, Laura, 33F, 2 years ago, and they have a son together, 1M. My daughter's passion is ballet, and she's been training since she was 5. Her training company had put on a production of Swan Lake, where she played a double role of the leads. It was her dream project, and she was thrilled to do it. My ex-husband and I supported her all the way through rehearsals. On the day of the show, I had arrived at the auditorium before the show started. I continuously kept on messaging Jerry as to when he would arrive, but he kept on telling me that he had to drop off his son to his first day in daycare before he came there. He didn't show up at all, and my daughter was almost on the verge of tears. However, she got thunderous applause from the audience, as she was perfect. Later, my ex-husband called me up, telling me that his son started crying when he was about to drop off him to daycare, and he had to stay back to calm him down and put him to sleep, which delayed the entire thing. I told him that his priority should be our daughter, and that his son has Laura to calm him down and put him to sleep. He called me selfish, and now he put his mom on my trail to berate me and call me selfish. Stories number 43. The 3 p.m. wedding that started at 6:30 p.m., and somehow got worse from there. I will never forget LOL. So my then boyfriend, now husband, was in a wedding, and the bride insisted the entire bridal party arrive sharp at 10:30 a.m., even though the ceremony was scheduled for 3 p.m. He shows up, parks, and, crickets. Grinning face with sweat, he literally sat in his car until noon when the bridal party slowly started showing up. The groom, his brother, didn't get there until almost 1 p.m., already drunk. The bride was late too because of hair and makeup delays. I got there around 2:30 p.m. and immediately ran into chaos with the seating chart. It was a mess. I and several other people kept getting moved around because we were at the wrong tables. The dress code? Non-existent. People wore tuxes, crop tops, ripped jeans, Jordans, flip-flops, white dresses, white suits, leggings, club dresses, and miniskirts. Someone next to me whispered they couldn't tell if we were at a wedding, a nightclub, a barbecue, or a funeral, and honestly, same. LOL. By 3:30 p.m., my boyfriend comes out like, everything's behind schedule. You don't say. LOL. The wedding didn't actually start until 6:30 p.m., and I honestly think it only happened then because apparently the pastor was threatening to leave. Let me remind you, the original start time was 3 p.m. There were zero announcements about the delays or when things would start. I only knew anything because my boyfriend was texting me. People were sprinting back in from the lobby while the bridal party was already walking down the aisle. Since they used the reception hall as the ceremony space, we were already at our dinner tables, and the room was huge, so no one past the first few tables could hear a thing. They had no microphones, and people were just talking over everything and snapping pictures with loud flashes. My boyfriend said it wasn't even worth hearing anyway because his brother was drunk and slurring the whole time. LOL. The ceremony ended at 6:55 p.m. No cocktail hour, no appetizers, just a cash bar which was charging $10 for beer and $20 for cocktails. People started leaving to grab food and alcohol. One table ordered pizza, others brought in tacos and BK, and plenty of folks were just drinking straight from bottles they picked up from the liquor store. LOL. The bride and groom came in around 8:30-ish, again with no announcement. They had to walk out and come back in just to try and get the bridal party entrance right. The song kept skipping, and people were walking in and out and standing up, completely blocking the view for others. Dinner didn't start until about 9 p.m. and it was so slow and chaotic. Also no announcement. My boyfriend's table had already finished eating by the time mine got a bread roll. LOL. I didn't get my food until 9:45 p.m. due to mix-ups with other tables, and we were served just water. Oh, and there was no cake, just melted ice cream soup. I was told dinner was supposed to be served at 5:30 p.m. So it explains the cold food and melted ice cream. We quietly left at 10 p.m., no dancing, no toasts, nothing. And good thing we left when we did because they only had the venue until 10 p.m. So around 10:15-ish they were being kicked out, so anyone still there basically became part of the cleanup crew. LOL. I told him that before we go to another one of his family's weddings, I need to know all the logistics in advance. LOL. Stories number 44. I 26M told my best friend's 26M's wife that he cheated on her on their wedding night. I, 26M, have been best friends with the groom, 26M, since childhood. Let's call him Josh. I helped him plan the wedding. He was busy with work, so our mutual friend and I planned a little of the wedding, which I won't go into since I was glad to do so as he was, my best friend. I was his best man. I stood proudly watching the same boy I used to play baseball with in the backyard get married. Everything was perfect. The guests were having fun, memories were being made, and it seemed like the dream wedding. But during the reception, one of the groomsmen is wasted and panicking. I don't want this to interrupt the wedding and kill the vibe, so me and the groomsman, we can call him Jay, go outside. Jay told me that Josh hooked up with one of the bridesmaids last night, the night before his wedding. I confront him quietly, hoping it's a misunderstanding, because I thought that Josh would never do such a thing. He shrugs and admits it, saying it was a last night of freedom and that she, the wife, wouldn't care anyway. He shows no remorse for what he did. I'm horrified. I try to walk away and stay quiet, but I see the bride glowing and laughing. I can't watch her like this knowing what he did. I snap. I pull her aside privately and tell her the truth. She storms out. The reception implodes. Josh loses it. He starts screaming at me and runs out after his wife. The families are blaming me for ruining the wedding. Half of my friends think I'm a hero, while the other half say I crossed a sacred line. The relationship advice I'm seeking is, do you think I can get back in contact with my best friend again? I've known him since we were kids and it's devastating losing someone so close to me. How would I go about it if I even should? What about his wife? Stories number 45. My new girlfriend's daughter said something lovely yesterday. So I've been dating Sarah for about 2 months now. I'm 35, she's 43, and is a single mom to a 12-year-old daughter, Emma. I have no kids, never been with someone who has kids, divorced though, so it's been new for me. Emma is also on the spectrum, I don't know the details, don't mean to sound demeaning at all, so Sarah warned me beforehand that she can be a little distant with new people. I've met her around 5 times now and I think it's been going well. She seems to like me, but I wasn't sure. Yesterday I had dinner at their place, and while we were eating Sarah got a phone call and went to the other room. Emma and I kept talking, and at one point she got a little quiet and looked at me. Then she said, "You know, I think this is going to work. It already feels like we're a family." Felt like she shot me in the heart, in a good way. I didn't know what to say, so I just said that I think so too and that I'm happy she said that. After dinner, when Sarah and I were alone, I told her what Emma had said and she almost started crying. I can't stop thinking about it. It made me so happy to hear that they both feel so safe with me. I know we haven't been dating long, but I feel like this could be something really, really good. I don't know, guess I'm just happy. Sarah and Emma are awesome. Stories number 46. AITBF for defending my daughter's guest at a family gathering. We had a family gathering today with lots of extended family. My daughter, 14F, invited a friend, 14F, to come over to hang out, eat, and have fun. All was going well, but I noticed the friend who was looking happy and upbeat suddenly looking upset. She tells me her mom was coming to pick her up early. I asked her if she was okay and what had happened. She stated that my nephew, 8M, my husband's side, was picking on her and being mean over using a slip and slide. The girl felt bad and quit doing the slip and slide, and that was when she sat down with me and had her mom come get her. I don't know the friend very well, but she seemed to be mentally challenged, but she was a sweet girl. I didn't have a chance to speak with the mom before they left because it was all of a sudden. My MIL was the one throwing the shindig and she wanted to know what happened. I specifically said I was not there when it happened, but this is what friend told me. I told Mael that it hurt her feelings and she left early due to nephew saying things. Nephew is the golden child. Mil immediately became defensive and saying nephew wouldn't say that and it was just kids being kids. I told her that friend was a guest at our house and I felt bad for the girl. She starts raising her voice and basically saying it couldn't be true and that everyone was a guest. I again told her that I was not there and I don't know what happened, but that was why friend left early. This was the first time friend had ever been over there. I told her if we couldn't talk it out rationally that I was walking away, so I did. I went for a walk to cool my head. When I came back I was told I shouldn't have said anything, I ruined the peace, should have kept my mouth shut, and that the little girl may have lied. We left the get-together and went home. I haven't heard from the mom and my daughter hasn't heard from friend. I feel bad for the girl. She was even telling me how she is bullied at school. Now we have her over and this happens. Am I the buttface? Should I have just kept my mouth shut and not said anything? TLDR, at a dinner daughter's friend says my nephew was being mean, so she had her mom pick her up early. MIL asked why and I told her what I was told. I was accused of causing drama and I should have kept my mouth shut and not defended the friend. Stories number 47. AITA refusing to pay my friend for her package that was delivered to me. I need your take on something RQ. Also throw away ACC because I don't know who's on here, LOL. I 19 female and my friend 20 female are currently having an argument over the stupidest thing ever. Here's the context. So I order things from online a lot and recently, I ordered a few things from a popular brand. Now, my packages were spilt up, so what I ordered would have come on 2 separate days, far apart, which I didn't mind. I picked up the first package and a week or so later, I kept seeing notifications in my email about a package, completely different tracking number than either of my split up packages, pop up. I checked my bank account to see if maybe I had ordered something and didn't remember, but that wasn't the case. I brushed it off and ignored it. A few days later, the mystery package and my original package came up as delivered, so I went and collected both since they were both addressed to me. For the mystery package, I paid $50 to clear it. As soon as I got home, I dug through the mystery package since I paid a good buck to collect it, was awfully curious, and I thought the company gifted me free items since I shop on their site quite often. There were slippers, shorts, dresses and a few other things in the package, all which I'd never personally order, but they were good picks. I gave away one of the dresses and currently am wearing one of the shorts while typing this LOL. Now, the actual tea. My friend sent me a message today asking if I had received a package recently. I picked up the package a week ago and we talked. I did mention getting freebies and it didn't go beyond that, and I said yes and obviously started telling her about my freebies, again. She asked what exactly I got. I told her, then she said it wasn't free since it was hers. How? Well, she placed an order from the same site I buy from and put my address in to have it delivered to me. Did she ever tell me about this before today? No. Am I shocked and low-key upset? Kinda, yeah, because why wouldn't she tell me that? I told her I took 2 items since I initially thought I was mine and she could have the rest of her stuff. Now, the cause for the argument? She said I'd have to pay her back for the 2 items I took and I refused since I did pay $50 to collect it. She no longer has to, and my other friend works close to where she lives, so she'd get free delivery too. She called me selfish and a B-word, dunno if I can say that here, and has been telling our mutual friends and my mom about what happened. She's been saying I stole from her and refused to pay her back. My mom's saying I should pay her to keep the peace, and my friends are split on the situation. So Reddit, am I the a-holy for refusing to pay back my friend after she ordered her package to be delivered to me? P.S. I tried to edit this as much as possible, sorry for any typos. Hi all, I'm not sure how updates work, but I think this is how I should do it. I asked her for my money. She refused. She said she didn't tell me to collect it, so I shouldn't have. Neutral face, she said I did that on my own, so she doesn't owe me anything. Am I slow? If I thought the package was mine since it was never indicated otherwise, why would I leave it? I tried comprising, I offered to replace the items and she pay me back my money, but she just crashed out saying I always do this. I'd literally give this girl the clothes of my back if she asked, and the one time I put my foot down, I'm the bad guy. I'm gonna just give her her stuff and pay her for what I took after she pays me for collecting her package. Thank you all for weighing in on this. Stories number 48. AITB for refusing to babysit my nephew every weekend for free. I work full-time and also take weekend classes for a certification I'm working toward. I still live at home to save money, which I'm really grateful for. My older brother and his wife had a baby last year. He's 13 months now and adorable, and I do love him. The issue started when my brother and his wife asked me to babysit once in a while so they could have date nights. I agreed, no problem. But, once in a while, turned into every Saturday and sometimes Sunday, for 6 to 8 hours at a time. For free. I never asked to be paid, but I started getting overwhelmed. I tried to talk to them and explain that I need at least some weekends to study and rest, but my brother brushed it off and said, "You're just watching TV anyway, what's the difference?" Last weekend I finally said I couldn't babysit because I had a paper due and really needed the time. My sister-in-law got quiet and passive-aggressive, and my brother told me I was being selfish and not acting like part of the family. When I told my mom, she said she understood both sides but then added, "It wouldn't kill you to help more, they have a lot on their plate." Now I feel torn. I never said I wouldn't help at all, I just don't want it to be every single weekend like I don't have a life of my own. I also don't like being guilt-tripped like I'm the bad guy for setting a boundary. Stories number 49. AITA for telling my sister that, since she's the favorite, she'll be the one taking care of our mom when she's old. I'm 21F and my sister is 18F. I've always felt like our mom favors her, even if she doesn't say it directly. I study out of town and only come home a few days a week. When I'm gone, my sister uses my stuff without asking. It's happened so many times that I've stopped leaving anything valuable at home. Recently, an aunt sent me a pair of sneakers I really liked. My mom said she couldn't find them, and then my sister showed up wearing them. I asked her to take them off, she refused, we argued, and my mom's only response was something like, "So what? It's not like you're gonna eat them." That same night, my sister started provoking me. She said things like, "Nobody loves you," and called me a freeloader. I was doing the dishes, and when I finished, she came and dropped off her dirty plate, just to say, "You act like it doesn't hurt, but I know it does." I snapped. I told her that if she enjoys being the favorite so much, she better enjoy everything that comes with it, because when mom gets old, she'll be the one changing her diapers and dealing with everything. I won't help at all. She went silent and locked herself in her room crying. Later, my mom asked me to tell her I was just joking because she's stressed about her national standardized tests. I said no, I meant what I said. My mom got angry, called me ungrateful, said she raised me for nothing, and now she's telling my aunts that I came home just to ruin her peace. So, am I overreacting? Stories number 50. Wibta if I paid my SIL what I think she should get, instead of what she's asking for the biscuits she's baking. Sorry if I'm doing this wrong, it's my first time posting on here. It's my child's birthday party soon and my amazing SIL is baking some biscuits for us to give out instead of party bags. She's had 2 stamps made to personalize them and is going all out with edible glitter etc. My child is absolutely thrilled and SIL seems to be excited to make them. I know she's thinking of doing this as a small business and she's asked me to leave her a good review. Obviously I will, she's literally one of my favorite people ever, but we are massively disagreeing on the price that should be paid. She said she feels guilty asking, but as she's still on mat leave could I cover the ingredients, which is less than £20. But she's not factored in her time at all, which is frustrating me because that's time she could be spending doing other things with her family. I looked up pay rates for bakers in my country and the time it should take to make the number of biscuits and added it onto the ingredients cost and told her that's what I'll pay. She's vehemently disagreed with this and said that it's her niece's party and she wants to do it at ingredients cost. If the roles were reversed I'd be annoyed if she paid the higher amount, but I don't want her to sell herself short, so Wibta if I just paid her the researched cost or should I be respectful of her quoted price? Update. Thanks to everyone who has helped. I have ungraciously accepted defeat and paid her the £20 ingredients cost, which I still got told off for because apparently it was slightly less than that. I've told her about this post and she thinks it's funny that almost no one was on my side. I also told her that I'll be having my revenge at her birthday soon and she laughed, so I think we're still cool. Stories number 51. Just found out my landlord's son has been secretly using my electricity, and I've been paying for it all year. I rent an apartment in a multifamily property and pay for my own electric bill, as required by my lease. Today, I discovered something that honestly has me fuming. Apparently, the electric meter assigned to my unit doesn't just power my apartment, it also covers all the common areas, stairwells, hallways, outdoor lighting, and even the basement. None of this was disclosed in the lease, and there's no clause saying tenants are responsible for utility costs outside their own units. Here's where it gets worse. The landlord's adult son has been living in a sectioned-off room in the basement, separated by a makeshift door, and that room is also connected to my meter. Meaning, for nearly a year, I've unknowingly been footing the bill for his electricity usage. To top it all off, the landlord just proposed a 4% rent increase. I never agreed to pay for common areas, let alone subsidize the landlord's son's living situation. Has anyone dealt with something like this? What are my options for recourse? I'm in New Jersey. Location, New Jersey. Edit 1. Commenters want to know how I realized I was paying for the extra electricity. After the circuit breaker tripped in the landlord's son's space, I saw him physically access my electrical panel board to reset the breaker. That raised some concerns, so I decided to test things myself. I turned on all the lights in the common areas, basement, and exterior, basically everything I could access, then systematically turned off each breaker on my panel one by one. As I did this, I checked whether the lights went off, and sure enough, all the lights mentioned were affected by my breakers. That confirmed they're wired through my panel and, by extension, under my meter. Stories number 52. Mom put dad in his place after a rude comment and a long few days. My dad worked long-haul trucking when I was little, while mom worked part-time from home so she could raise us kids. This occurred when I was maybe 4 at the time, and my sister had just started walking, early 2000s. I know all this because mom brings it up any time she's miffed at dad if he slacks on parenting duties, mostly unintentionally on his part. So basically dad comes in from days in the truck, sees mom half passed out on the couch, she'd been fighting a cold the past few days prior, me watching TV, and my sister waddled up to him with her diaper sagging. He, tired himself, blurted out, "Geez woman, you couldn't change her." While trying to step around my sister. According to mom, and the way dad flinches at every retelling, she just got up, looked him dead in the eyes, and said, "You're in charge of the girls now," then locked herself in their bedroom. Dad of course made a small stink about it, but he did change my sister, then tried to get the TV remote away so he could watch something. Me, a little smartass, told him, "Mommy said I get TV today because I read a whole book." And wouldn't give him the remote. Dad stormed off to confront mom, as the only other TV was in their room. Mom told him I was right and to tough it out through the door. Dad had to sit with sis and I while Dora played on the TV for the next 2 hours. It was a marathon day. He knew that if he took the remote away from me when I was rewarded would backfire on him. That is another long story in itself. Then mom wouldn't come out at dinner time, so dad had to make dinner, but I was picky, undiagnosed autism actually, and had a meltdown over what he made, something with whole tomatoes. Dad pleaded to mom to please come out and help. Mom told him to man up and deal with it himself. Dad ended up just giving me cereal because I refused to eat whatever he cooked, and dad knew that if he withheld dinner from me mom would literally sick his parents on him. My paternal grandparents, especially Nana, are terrifying and absolutely adored us grandkids. Nana even scolded dad in front of us for not playing with us when we asked. Love my grandparents. He then also had to make my school lunch for tomorrow, then get us kids to bed. Mom meanwhile kept him locked out of their room for the next 36 hours, using their ensuite and having him bring her meals, dinner, then breakfast. Dad had to sleep on the couch, deal with my bedtime tantrums, and the next morning my before-school meltdown, pack my bag, dress me, then walk me to school, all while dealing with my barely-year-old sister who would get into everything and was super fussy at the worst times. According to mom, after dad picked me up from school at the end of the day, he literally had to carry me home while I had a meltdown because he wouldn't let me stay on the playground, which set off my sister in the stroller, and he spent the walk home getting stared at because he had a crying infant in a stroller and a shrieking little girl over his shoulder. She finally came out, all rested, took one look at my disheveled, sleep-deprived father, and said, "You really couldn't keep them calm." Dad never, ever made even a comment like that again, nor did he ever slack off on being a dad when he was home when I was a kid XD. Oh, and mom still tattled on dad, so Nana gave him a verbal whooping that weekend when we visited her and Papa. Then she, Nana, made Dad do all the house chores while she, Papa, and Mom sat and played with my sister and I. Edit for context, Dad barely helped when he was home until then. So all kid-related stuff Mom handled. So she was going to bed at 2 a.m. and getting up at 7 a.m. on weekdays, all while juggling an undiagnosed kindergartner and a fussy toddler, along with a part-time bookkeeping job. And then that week she got a cold and barely kept home together. So yeah, that comment was the last straw, and she let Dad have a taste of how difficult it actually was to deal with kids, without the part-time job. Stories number 53. To avoid repaying $1,500 he owes me, my roommate invented a $1,000 dog-sitting fee and sent it by certified mail. He was one of my closest friends, close enough that my card was linked to his Apple Pay because he was constantly short on money. When we first moved in together, I loaned him $3,000 to help cover move-in costs and the first month's rent. Over the next 6 months, he only repaid about half, and only in small amounts, always after I reminded him multiple times. I kept swallowing the "I don't have money" excuse, even while he was buying a huge TV, redecorating his room, and going on vacations with his girlfriend. But now something happened that just blew my mind. I had to leave town for 20 days. After a week of offering him a debt reduction to watch my pup, and getting shut down every time, I arranged for a friend to stay in my room and take care of pup for free. She was totally fine with it and happy to help. He immediately refused to allow anyone else in the apartment and said he'd kick her out if she showed up. Then he suddenly changed his mind and said he'd do it himself, after blocking my free solution. I told him clearly I wasn't hiring him, I already had someone who was happy to do it for nothing. A few weeks later, he sent me an official certified letter demanding $1,000 for dog sitting and said he wouldn't repay me unless I subtracted that amount from the debt. That was the final straw. Now, I'm determined to take him to court. It's not even about the money anymore, it's about the betrayal. I'd really appreciate any advice, especially if you've been through something similar or know what kind of evidence actually works in small claims court. Location, Florida, Hollywood. UPD. Quick clarification, since many seem confused, yes, we are both on the lease. Breaking the lease early would cost around $8,000, which I would have to pay alone. He refuses to be removed from the lease and won't agree to replace me. He's very comfortable that I'm paying and almost do not live here. Yes, I use ChatGPT to translate. I really appreciate the perspectives, but I'm specifically looking for legal reasoning, not general advice to just let it go. If you know of a good book, case law reference, or even a legal weak point in my position, I'd genuinely appreciate it. On the flip side, if there are solid strategies to prove the debt or invalidate the dog-sitting claim, I'd love to hear those too. I'm not here for emotional closure. I'm here to build a case, or understand why it may not be viable. Stories number 54. Am I overreacting for walking out of my boyfriend's family dinner after what his mom said to me? I'm 24 and I've been dating my boyfriend, 27M, for almost a year. Things have been good between us, but his mom has never really liked me. She's the type that makes little comments masked as jokes and expects you to just laugh it off. We had dinner at his parents' place last weekend. It was a big thing, like 10+ people, including extended family. I offered to help in the kitchen, and while we were plating everything, his mom looked me up and down and goes, "Well, at least you're useful for something." I was starting to think he was just keeping you around for fun. I literally froze. Everyone heard it. No one said anything. My boyfriend just kind of nervously laughed. I quietly excused myself, grabbed my stuff, and left. He called me later saying I embarrassed him and that I should have just ignored her sense of humor. I told him I'm not going to sit at a table with people who treat me like I'm disposable. He said I overreacted and now his mom is upset that I stormed off in front of the family. Was I out of line for leaving? Stories number 55. AIO for telling my husband's friend he's not welcome in our home after what he said about our daughter. My husband, 34M, has a close friend, Mike, who's always been a bit insensitive. He makes jokes that toe the line, and everyone just lets it slide. We have a daughter, 13F. She recently came out as non-binary and prefers gender-neutral clothes. We've both been supportive. Mike came over for a barbecue and saw our kid in basketball shorts and a hoodie. He said, "Is that your son or daughter? Or is it just a confusing phase?" Then turned to my daughter and said, "You'll grow out of this snowflake thing." She went silent. I asked him to leave. He laughed and said I was being dramatic. I told him he was no longer welcome here. My husband agrees Mike was out of line but says I was too harsh and should have let him handle it. Mike is now whining to their friend group that I'm oversensitive and banned him over nothing. Was I overreacting? Stories number 56. AITA for buying a vacant lot my neighbor was using as a junkyard and dog toilet. Backstory: my neighbor was pretending to own the lot of land between our houses when we moved in. In fact, he confronted our contractor for having his truck wheels on the lot because our driveway is narrow and the contractor has a big monster truck. Fast forward a few months later, we got a notification from the city that we could buy the lot for $100. Mind you, he would have gotten it also because they were giving preference to the homeowners on both sides. 2 more months later we had finished the repairs and he still hadn't purchased it. I wanted to start a garden, so we went ahead and bought it. Well, next my neighbor pulled a car on it to strip for parts and basically refused to move it even after the police told him we owned the lot, while giving us a ticket for his car. I saw the ticket and verbal exchange on my Ring camera. My husband had words with him after asking him to move the car like 4 times. We finally had to call the police to have it towed. My neighbor has a dog and he had been letting his dog out to pee and poop in the lot but never cleaning it up. Once I bought it I put up no trespassing signs. We haven't spoken to him since having to get his car towed. When I was trying to maintain the lot, i.e. mowing etc., it was like a landmined field of poop. I couldn't walk a few steps without stepping in a pile of poop. I decided that something had to be done, so I called animal control and the cops. Aita for buying the vacant lot, or should I have let him pretend he owned it and use it for a junkyard or dog toilet? *LOL, he plays music that calls women names like bitch when I'm outside cleaning up my lot.